Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Yes, we have with us. Yes, good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
We'll start in 2 minutes. I request all the participants to please keep their microphone on mute mode. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay. Okay, we can start now. So, good morning, everyone. Once again, I am Assistant Professor Bhumika Rathod. On behalf of Modern Law College, welcome all the dignitaries, faculties, and the participants on this national webinar on socio-legal perspective of mental health issues and challenges. Mental health is something that we all need to talk about. We often make this as a stigma, and we need to remove this stigma away. This year's theme of Mental Health Day is Mental Health in an Unequal World. It reminds us that much work remains to be done in this area of mental health and to make this mental health equity in reality. As we all know that this pandemic era, this COVID-19 period, it's taken a huge toll on the mental health also. So, and it impacted communities in society in a very disproportionate manner. So today with this national webinar on mental health, we wanted to raise an awareness. We wanted to encourage socio-legal actions and renew our commitment to improve and deliver the quality mental health. So thank you everyone for presenting and attending this session. I thank all the dignitaries for hearing with us and show their presence and share their insights with our students. So now the inaugural ceremony will be followed by the Vice Principal's address and the introductions of the resource persons. So now I would like to invite Dr. Ananya Bibwe, Vice Principal of Modern Law College, to welcome our students and participants and the faculties and the dignitaries. Thank you, ma'am. Ananya ma'am, can you hear me?
A very good morning. Yes, Bhumika. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
A very good morning to all the dignitaries and participants of this national webinar on socio-legal perspective of mental health issues and challenges. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our parent institution, Progressive Education Society, which is an 89 years young organization, which has been created by teachers and is still managed by teachers. Our founder, Guruvarya Shankarrao Kanitkar's vision has been enlarged by our current chairman, Professor Dr. Gajanan Ekbote, and we are rapidly moving towards establishing a university of our multi-faculty higher educational institutions, which include traditional courses like arts, science, and commerce, as well as professional courses like engineering, pharmacy, law, education, physiotherapy, agri-biotechnology, and many more. Our college, that is Modern Law College, was established in the year 2003 with a vision to impart quality legal education to all the sections of the society. Today, after 19 years of its inception, the college has grown qualitatively as well as quantitatively by having 3 UG courses, the 3 years law course, the 5 years integrated BA LLB as well as BBA LLB course, 4 diploma courses in taxation, labor laws, IPR, and cyber laws, PG courses of LLM in corporate laws and international law, and also a PhD research center. We are permanently affiliated to Savitribai Phule Pune University, approved by the Bar Council of India, and having a NAC accreditation with a CGPA of 2.84. We are also having the 2F12B status. We are proudly catering to the educational needs of more than 1,400 students and are still enthusiastic to add more feathers in our cap. Now, let me come to today's topic of today's webinar, the socio-legal perspectives of mental health issues and challenges. Mental health refers to the cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. It is all about how people think, feel, and behave. Mental health is important in all phases of life, from childhood to adolescence through to adulthood, and it is equally important during the old age also. Needless to say, there are various social issues which come up due to this. The legal aspect of mental health has been covered under the Mental Health Act and the Mental Health Care Act of 2017. However, there are many aspects which need to be discussed and brought forth in the limelight, which is the main objective of today's webinar. Only when such concepts and cross-cutting issues would be discussed in the society will the awareness of the same grow. With this intention, we have made an effort to put forward today's webinar. I hope that this webinar achieves what it has envisioned, and more people get educated regarding this topic. I forward my best wishes to all the dignitaries and participants and my colleagues for this effort. Thank you very much and welcome to the seminar.
Thank you, Ananya ma'am. Thank you for your insights. Now I would like to invite Assistant Professor Prajakta Bhagwat to introduce our very first guest, our resource person. Over to you, ma'am. Prajakta ma'am. Okay. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. I'll repeat everything. Thank you, Ananya ma'am. So now I would like to invite Assistant Professor Prajakta Bhagwat ma'am to invite our very first resource person. Prajakta ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Bhumika ma'am. If your
Bhumika ma'am,
actions
could you
inspire-
please, just a minute, Prajakta ma'am, one of you please mute yourself. Yes, Prajakta ma'am,
Yes.
please continue.
Yes. If your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, and do more, then you are the leader. This quote best describes our first resource person, Dr. Rohini Srirang Honap. Well, I welcome you, ma'am. Dr. Rohini Honap, ma'am, is a principal of Tiyak Maharashtra Vidyapits, Lokmanya Tiyak Law College, Pune. She has done her PhD in criminological and penological perspective of drug addiction in India from Pune University. She has a Pune University and she was a gold medalist in her LLM. She has 24 years of experience in teaching as a law faculty and also American English. She has been a principal for 13 years of the Sri Navalmal Firodia Law College, Pune. She was also a member of Board of Students Law at SPPU, and she was also a member of Senate at SPPU. She has also a faculty for special officers of Maharashtra Intelligence Academy. Not only this, she is also a trainer for a counselor of De-Addiction Center from Maharashtra State. She has participated and presented in several national and international seminars, conferences, workshops, and training programs. She has to her credit, several research papers which are published in reputed journals. She has also delivered many guest lectures to the other colleges and universities in the capacity of resource person. Not only this, but she has also appointed as a guide for, for PhD students by Savitribai Phule University from 22nd November 2013. She has also enrolled on panel of PhD guides of Jagdish Prasad Jhabramil Tibrewala University, Rajasthan. She is also a referee for PhD thesis of student of Rashtrasanta Tukdoji Maharaj Nagpur University. Ma'am is also felicitated on the account of International Women's Day by District Court, Pune and Pune Bar Association as a woman principal of a law college on 8 March 2016. It's my pleasure to introduce, I now invite Dr. Rohini Honak ma'am to deliver her speech on the topic of developing positive mental health for teaching and learning experience. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Prajakta ma'am. Very good morning to all of you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes. Yeah, ma'am.
Let me begin by really thanking the management of Modern Law College as well as Dr. Chintamani Ghate sir, the coordinator of Modern Law College, and of course my dear friend and esteemed colleague, Dr. Sunita Adhav ma'am, the principal of your college, who has been kind enough to invite me for this webinar. I would really like to congratulate Sunita ma'am for selecting such a wonderful topic for discussion at this webinar. This is a topic which really requires a lot of discussion, as mentioned earlier, but basically this is a topic which no other law college has really talked about or ventured into. So I really appreciate the novelty of this important topic. So having said these few words, let me get into the aspects of the topic that has been assigned to me. I am going to speak on basically the positive, you can say, attitude that has to be developed by teachers and the positive mental health that has to be maintained by teachers for having a very good learning and a teaching and a learning experience by the students. So that is what I'm basically going to focus upon. Now, according to the World Health Organization, the mental health has already been defined as a feeling of well-being, or you can say the state of well-being. And this well-being has to be emotional, physiological, as well as social, in which individuals are able to deal with the day-to-day stress and daily routines and can work effectively, productively, and thereby making a contribution to the society. So this is how mental health has been defined by the World Health Organization. Of course, in addition to that, mental health is very important part of each person's personality, development, and overall growth. But unfortunately, in India, various mental health issues, they have always remained, I would not just say remained just as a stigma, but they have been considered almost taboo, and they are not openly talked about. Until even recently, most of such issues have been swept under the carpet or discussed in hushed tones within the close confines of the families. And so, though the Supreme Court of India has recognized right to health as one of the important rights under the umbrella of rights under Article 21 of the Constitution, and has recognized that health thus includes the physical and the mental well-being, yet although it is recognized, it remains much to be heard about. In fact, in India, the Mental Health Act was firstly enacted as late as in the year 1987, firstly. And then recently, the Mental Health Care Act in the year 2017. Of course, the new legislation is a much better legislation. It is an improvisation of the earlier act that we had, and it gives special rights to all persons with mental health issues, or basically it even further goes a step ahead and guarantees community living to persons who have acknowledged or have been established with having mental health issues, as well as the, you can say, very important fact that they shall not be discriminated on the ground that they have mental health issues. So this is a very, very important aspect of the Mental Health Care Act. And of course, the whole legislation is very patient-centric. It gives a number of rights to the patients having mental health issues. But of course, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritties of the legislation because I think that will be discussed in the forthcoming sessions. But I'm going to concentrate today on the positive attitude and mental health of the teachers and how it percolates to the students who are in their classes. In fact, one thing you should always remember, that nothing can harm you more or nothing can torment you more than your own mind and your thoughts. And of course, where do these thoughts stem from? They stem from just nothing but our huge organ, which is the human brain. The human brain is nothing but a muscle. And many a times we say that, yes, we should flex our mental muscles. This mental muscle has to be trained. This mental muscle has to be rejuvenated. It has to adapt to changing scenarios. So this muscle is really overworked, but many a times we underwork it because human beings are lazy. And so basically, even if you have a mental health issue, in today's days and times, with so much legislation and rights, fundamental rights at your support, one need not struggle with mental health in silence anymore. So basically, as earlier mentioned by Assistant Professor Bhumika ma'am, that yes, definitely during the pandemic period, the mental health challenges have increased, they have escalated, and these issues and challenges are now being talked about. They have escalated at such a fast pace that sometimes it has been even rightly labeled as a secret pandemic. Everyone is facing mental health issues, but yes, not most of it are ready to admit it, and that's why the word secret pandemic has been given to such, you can say, problems. We talk about several mental disorders, and they are not really you can say mentioned specifically in any legislation. Maybe only a few, you can say, instances can be found in, let's say, the criminal law, where under the Indian Penal Code, insanity can be a defense taken by a person of insane mind or unsound mind, and hence insanity is merely acknowledged as a defense for persons who have committed, you can say, crimes or accused of committing crimes. But yes, even the Indian Penal Code makes a distinction between legal insanity and medical insanity, whereas only the legal insanity gets the benefit of this defense. But what about all the other mental disorders of the mind? They are not coming even under the umbrella of the criminal law. But many a times we all suffer from many conditions, or we'll call it disorders of the mind. Now, in just to give a very general few examples, the disturbed mental health can be merely simple, you can say, disorders like having high anxiety levels, stress levels. We talk about all this all the time. Time to time, we are also prone to panic attacks, post-event traumas, social stress. We are having sleep and food disorders, we sometimes label as insomnia or anorexia. And many a times we suffer from various kinds of depressions. Sometimes it is the reverse way. We suffer from hysterias, manias, nervous breakdowns, or even phobias. I'm sure you have all heard of phobias. I'll just give you a few examples. Many of you may have heard the terms of claustrophobia, or having fear of small confined places, or being stuck up in confined spaces. Some people have hydrophobia, that is fear of water, xenophobia, like fear of dogs, or spectrophobia, people have even fear of looking at oneself in the mirror. But let's not get into all this. What concerns us more today in this topic is maybe the legal term xenophobia you may have heard of. Like when you have fear and intense dislike of people from other countries. But when we come to the teaching by the teachers particularly, they may have even a phobia which is labeled as anthrophobia. This is simply the fear of being around other people, in close proximity, in physical presence of other people. Now just imagine if any person or an educator, a facilitator is suffering from such, you can say, disorder of the mind as having anthrophobia, then whether he will fear to going in the class, whether he may fear or she may fear facing the students. This is something which has to be considered, because these are actual, you can say, disorders of the mind. Okay, but apart from that, there is also, you can say, a person suffering from mental disorders has lot of, you can say, significant impairment of the personal functioning, and in many a times it is temporary in nature. So mental health can be repaired with little intervention in the form of psychological counseling. But in the year 2013, the American Psychiatric Association redefined mental disorders and said that it is simply a syndrome. It is characterized by clinically significant disturbance in individual cognition, in emotion regulation or behavior, and sometimes merely reflects some dysfunctioning of the psychological type, or it may even lead to biological dysfunctioning and developmental processes. So today's teaching professionals, or I'll simply call them teachers, they are really working in unprecedented times. Since the pandemic, the whole modality and the pedagogy of teaching has undergone a drastic change. Even today, we are having this webinar online, whereas yes, earlier, I'm sure your principal would have loved to call the resource persons in person down to the college. So everything has undergone a phenomenal change. So most teachers, they have had to quickly adapt to the changing teaching processes, and the students have to adopt, or they had to immediately switch over to the online learning modalities. So at some point of time in their teaching career, in the past 2 years, all teachers have been faced by a lot of challenges in this current, you can say, situation. Apart from that, the rapid development is not just in the teaching pedagogy, it is in the whole mode of delivery and not seeing the students in person. Again, there has been some lack of communication in the teaching learning process, which I think all teachers as well as students would agree. But yes, teachers, they do suffer more, you can say, syndromes. And I'll firstly focus and just give you some of the issues that the teachers have faced, and then I'll come to the issues which the students have faced. So in this whole process, many teachers, whether the teaching is online or offline, initially they do feel a feeling of, you can say, feeling inadequate. This may be particularly, you can say, for new teachers, young teachers who are just entering the teaching profession, and they feel that there is a very thin dividing line between them being behind the desk and now in front of the desk as teachers. Sometimes the age gap between the students and the teachers is not a great one. And so initially, I think teachers do face this stress of fear of acceptance by the students. These fears lead to more and more stress levels, which then can become mental health issues and challenges that they have to face. So they have to keep up with the high-paced demands of the teachers, changing expectations of the students, the changing expectations of, you can say, the learning process. And yes, in addition to that, teachers have a lot of other stress, which really is not visualized by the students. Many a times the students wonder why a teacher may not be able to deliver her best at a particular point of time. Every teacher has a motto or definitely has an aim of giving the best. That is why we play the role of teachers, or we choose this teaching profession. Teachers are very much giving. They are all about caring for the students' needs. And it is not just about the curriculum. Teachers are really emotionally trying to bond with the students, trying to understand their different needs, diverse needs, and then adapt to the same in the classroom. In a limited period of time also, she has to complete the curriculum, or a given, you can say, lesson plan has to be completed. But that is just one part of it. After the class, the teacher has many more other challenges to face. There are endless meetings. There are staff briefings. You can say programs for their own professional development. They are endowed with a huge curriculum on one hand, and we need to also, in today's times, achieve and maintain national standards, or national, you can say, achievement standards. You must have heard about NAC and all the expectations that are there from the teachers during, you can say, the preparation for this NAC to excel. So the expectations sometimes become almost impossible to live with. And teachers want to help the students on one hand, but as again I mentioned, they have a lot of other pressures which are really invisible to the students. There is also, again, an increasing you can say, demand from the students. The students are increasingly dissatisfied. There can be sometimes unreasonable demands. And this is because the last 2 years have led to all these demands. It is not the fault of the students. They must have good expectations from their teachers. It is right of them to expect the teachers to give the best. But then teachers also sometimes become really stressed and depressed, maybe, because depression is again an health issue. It is a acknowledged mental health issue. They do become depressed with certain unreasonable demands. They may be depressed due to other working conditions. They may have a lot of administrative compliance that consume their time. They also are required to collect, analyze, and report on every student progression. And this becomes a difficult uphill task. So the students have to be also monitored all the time. Now, I'm not saying that the students are unruly. Definitely not. Today's students are intelligent. The human species is evolving, and each batch of student is having a brighter spark, as is assessed by the teachers. But yes, many a times the students in class, due to certain, you can say, teaching issues, become undisciplined. They may have unruly behavior in the class, and teacher is expected to deal with all this, you can say, misbehavior, and at the same time be concerned about the welfare and the concerns of their proteges. So just see that it is a very it's a balancing act that teachers do perform. So there are also needs to have a professional development, and I'll just identify a few more stressors for the teachers which come from within the class, from the students. So many a times the teachers are required to understand and deal with the different challenges among different students. In a student, you have a diverse, you can say, group, or in a classroom, you have diverse group of students with different understanding levels, with different challenges, and with different needs. The students' expectations differ because of their family backgrounds too. Many a time students are facing certain other family issues, whether financial, social, or cultural, or even maybe political. And then this percolates into the class. Again, the students may be facing several other, you can say, issues at home, which again is evident from the behavior in the class. They may be facing, say, neglect at home. They may have social influences of abuse to go to extreme levels. And definitely this is going to make a marked difference in the student behavior in the class. And so, as I mentioned, that a teacher may develop that phobia, that anthrophobia, fear of being around people, fear of being around the students. This is a real fear, and teachers could really face those issues. But yes, again, then this leads to what? Lack of effective communication between the teacher and the students. This is exactly what we are going to try to focus upon to improve upon these issues in the course of this webinar. And so this lack of effective communication between the teacher and the students then may give rise to student discipline problems, the class control problems, due to, you can say, loss of confidence from the teacher's side, and due to more growing confidence on the part of the students. There are many other negative or overwhelming life experiences that the teacher may have faced or the student may have faced. And all this comes to the forefront in the classroom when they face each other. So many a times students have faced certain social discriminations, exclusions, and we are hearing of many, you can say, new types of exclusions on the ground of gender too. So there are these issues which are now being talked about openly, but yes, there are many topics which are still so taboo and hushed, and mental health issues is one of them. And so the reason of, you can say, leaving, at least I would be bold enough to say that leaving 3/4 of the teachers feeling overworked and exhausted. So at the end of the day, they feel that yes, they are overworked, they are exhausted. They are exhausted with maybe adoption of the online modalities. They have been overwhelmed with new initiatives initiated by every college. And without proper training or without professional development, many a times these duties are imposed on the teachers. Of course, the management is not to blame. They are also trying their best to improve the quality of that institution. And so this becomes, let's say it sounds more like a vicious circle. Yes. And so many a times another syndrome that teachers face is a syndrome which I would call as toxic positivity. I don't know if any of you must have heard of this term, but what is toxic positivity? Teachers, in spite of having all these issues and challenges that they are facing, are not expected to reveal them. They have to put on a smiling face. They have to be positive all the time. And we are talking about positive mental health for teaching learning experience. And so when we have to put on a smiling face each and every day, is it really possible? What do you think? Is it really possible? Any one of you can answer me, maybe the students. Is it, can you really put on a smiling face all the time when you are faced with number of mental health issues?
No, ma'am, it's not.
No, ma'am, it's not possible. But
it's not possible. But isn't the teacher expected to do that? Just that, come into the class with a very smiling face and beaming with positivity and energy. She's expected to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So many psychological researchers, they call this as the danger of being persistently optimistic and positive. If you're persistently only optimistic, positive, and you're trying to put up this, you can say, forefront of being energetic and very enthusiastic, then it leads to a buildup called as toxic positivity. In the long run, this toxic positivity again hampers the mental health of teachers. And if mental health of teachers is hampered, then definitely it is going to affect the whole teaching learning process. So while talking about these issues openly, again, it's a very good topic that has been chosen because students sometimes have to be aware that, yes, a teacher may be stressed due to some different reason totally and may not be giving her the best in the class. And so what is required to be developed from both the side of the management as well as the students is a little bit of patience. And this pandemic has destroyed our patience levels actually. We want everything instantly. The internet and its magical powers, I would say, has made everything available to you at the tip of your fingertips, right? In a click of a mouse or you can say through your mobile phones, every information is so easily available to you. And so we want everything instantly. We want instant fast food, we call it, right? Yes. Yes, please interact with me.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, but this is really not true in case of, you can say, the teaching process. This is not so instant. A teacher has to be given time. A teacher sometimes needs to, you can say, be given some patient hearing, or some patience has to be shown on part of the management towards the teachers and the students towards the teachers. And why I'm requesting the students to think about these issues keenly is that, yes, if the teacher then focuses on recuperating or regaining her mental health, it is going to benefit them in the long run. It is ultimately going to be useful to the students in the long run. So there are some solutions that I would want to talk about for, let's say, for you can say improving the teacher's professional development. Of course, these are going to be unique for every teacher's needs, and every teacher that struggles in the classroom management, they may have the solution in attending some, you can say, workshops that deal with classroom management, and the management can very proactively send the teachers to such workshops. In fact, reported statistics, they state that 49% of the teachers have reported suffering from anxiety, and many a times they have reported severe symptoms leading to frustration, anger, helplessness, and depression. None of these can be shown in the class, however. The teacher has to deal with them on his or her own. But yes, I think today's managements are very supportive, and I'm sure they can support the teachers and cannot assume that all the teachers are on the same page. Of course, it takes a number of years to become a good teaching professional. It requires a number of years of experience. It requires a number of years of facing students and understanding their issues, understanding their problems, their minor fears, because I'm going to talk about the students' fears also after I deal with the teacher's aspect. And so naturally, all the teachers are not on the same page, and every teacher cannot just embrace the low period of her time very, you can say, well. And sometimes she cannot just go into the class without feeling guilty about having these, you can say, issues that she's dealing with. So you have to understand this. One more aspect I will talk about the teachers is the concept of teacher burnout. Have you heard the word burnout? Do you sometimes face, you can say, social media burnouts?
Yes, ma'am, we do face.
Yes. So what is the concept of teacher burnout? See, as I told you, being a teacher is incredibly, it is really extremely stressful. It is tiring. It is emotionally draining, because we try to constantly connect with the students. We try to have an emotional connect with most of the students, though we may not have it with each and every student. But yes, emotional connect is very, very important part of a teacher's profile. But this emotional connect can be draining on the teacher, and this can lead to the concept of teacher burnout. You know, teacher burnout is a real phenomenon. It can lead to nervous breakdowns. It can lead to, you can say, total dysfunctions. And several factors leading upon to this can be even, let's say, lack of resources for the teacher, lack of, you can say, loss of authority, loss of, you can say authority in the classroom, or conflicting students, uh, actual confrontations with students on various minor as well as major issues. There are many a times some confrontations in the class. This happens to every teacher. We always say that yes, there are a few students who will be constantly having some, you can say, confrontations with teachers. And again, I'm not saying that those students are doing it on purpose. They have their own issues, which I'll be dealing with, why some students persistently engage in such confrontations. But then yes, being a teacher or being a lifelong even learner, a teacher has to learn to identify these student issues. So the learning process for teacher never ends. Maybe you as students, your learning process is going to end when you may get your degrees or your masters or whatever end degree that you're aiming for, and you may enter some other profession. So your learning may come to an end at some point of time. But for a teacher is a lifelong learner, and she is constantly updating herself. She is in the learning process. She updates her knowledge, the subject knowledge. She also updates herself by taking workshops and attending different other seminars, attending different, you can say, conferences. These are the way in which the teacher engages and continues in the learning process. And so this learning process is a very long one for teachers. And so when we talk about teachers having these issues, then the teachers have other solutions also. Let's see what are these solutions for teachers. So the teachers can firstly build up a network of confidants, mentors, and supportive colleagues. It is very important to have a healthy atmosphere in the staff room for a good teaching learning experience. So peer support or mutual cooperation amongst teachers is very important. We must not be in a rat race to compete with the other teachers. So teachers many a times unknowingly, they are really in this rat race, and they want to excel in many things. They want to attain everything. They want to attend almost all the possible seminars, conferences, get the certificates, which are very much necessary, no doubt. But let it not become a rat race eating you up. Everyone has their own individual pace of growth and development. And so this burnout can be avoided by not being a part of the race, first of all. Having a good, you can say, support system in the form of other teacher colleagues is very important. A good relationship, healthy relationship with the teachers and supportive friends is very important for a teacher, just as good friends are important for the students. So in a teaching professional community, however, lately it has been observed that there is just competition among teachers. Many times this competition, which should be a healthy competition, exceeds the boundaries of being a healthy competitive sphere. And that is where the issues arise. So to be a lifelong learner, you do have a lot of ways to build up, you can say, your support systems in which your mental stress issues can be reduced. Another way for the teachers to have a good teaching learning experience in the class is to always have an open door policy. An open door policy for the students where you are, of course, accessible to the students. For most of the time, of course, you have to set certain boundaries. And students are not really expected to call up the teachers at all odd hours and late hours of the night. But this does happen very often also. Yes, the student who is in need, who is in some trouble, does call up the teacher very late in the evening. And so just see that a teacher has to be really available 24 hours of the day to the students. Whereas, students, they feel that, yes, it is their right. They must talk to the teacher and get a quick solution. They also sometimes do require the support from the teacher. But then somewhere, yes, the teachers must set some boundaries, but generally be very, very accessible to the students. So this open door policy is a very good way in which a teacher can build up a relationship of trust between the students and herself or himself. And this relationship then can further be navigated, and it may of course have certain setbacks also, but the teachers, they need to gain what we call as the confidence of the students. Once I think this confidence of the students or the trust of the students is developed, then you can have the best teaching learning experience. Yes, so these are some of the issues for the teachers. Now let me focus on certain issues which the students face and how they are reflected in the classroom behavior of the students. Well, the students do mostly, I think, and rather that should be the aim, they do come to a college or a higher educational institution to gain education, right? Yes or no? Do you come with that aim?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Or is the aim just to have a merry time?
No, education is
No, ma'am.
both of them are the aim.
Yes, there has to be a balance, of course. Some
Yes.
fun and frolic is very important because, as it is said, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Yes. So there are different aims and goals of why students enter into educational campuses. But yes, students are from different backgrounds. They're all grouped together in a class. And when friendships are forged, when they are bonding with each other, they understand each other and form their own groups accordingly. But in this whole process, certain students have the fear of mingling. They have the fear of being open out, or they have the fear of opening their mind to their fellow colleagues. And that is where certain issues remain, you can say, deep down in the minds of the students, and that gets reflected in their whole learning process. The learning process gets hampered because of certain, you can say, fears which they have in their mind. These are also mental health challenges, because as I said that in medical science, the American Psychiatric Association has acknowledged that many mental disorders are very simple. They are temporary. They are faced by all of us at some point of time in our lives, but they can be overcome. So these mental issues are also real, that yes, you have fear that you will not be accepted by the peer. There are some popular groups of students and every person wants to belong, let's say, to that sort of club. Okay, right? And then if you're left out, you feel this feeling of exclusion, of low, you can say, inferiority complex sometimes develops. And on the other hand, some students develop a superiority complex. Yes. So in the students also, the groups are so very diverse. These diverse groups have to be identified by the teachers. And then there would be the, you can say, optimal teaching learning process. So in the students, they have so many fears and issues. And I think in this today's time, in this I would call it the internet world that we live in, or the web that we are practically living in, the internet space, I think we have so many other student issues, which I think I've come to know these terms from you students itself, that yes, we have so many issues like, what is it? FOMO, YOLO. I'm sure you know all these terms. I heard it from the students only. What is FOMO?
Fear of missing out, ma'am.
Yeah, fear of missing out. Where do you have this fear? Fear of missing out where? On the social media sites? Yes?
Not really, not being included in general activities.
Yeah, but where this term is not a new term. This term was identified as early as the year 2004. And we are living in 2022. So fear of missing out is a real fear. When we say mental issues and challenges, fear is one of the mental, you can say, challenges. It's a mental issue. And what are you fearing? Fearing missing out social activities, fear of missing out what others are doing, fear of missing out being included, right? So where do these fears really be noticed on? Facebook, Instagram, all these sites? Yes, you tell me, please. I want to be educated from you also. Come on.
I suppose so. When you hear stories from other people that, oh, we went out and did this, did that.
Yes.
I suppose that's where we get.
Does FOMO thus make you depressed?
Not depressed exactly, but
some
it does.
Students could get.
Yeah, some.
Yes, many students or that particular generation age group has got depressed because of this, and it has been now included in the dictionary. The other side of this coin is the term YOLO. That is, you only live once. And so I want to be included in everything. I want to do everything. So again, if you're not able to do so, if you're not able to be part of it, then you feel again fear of social isolation. You have anxiety issues, you have need for inclusion in every activity. So these are the new type of, you can say, fears, phobias, and some of them then lead to manias. Now there is a fine line of distinction between phobias and the word manias. I already gave you examples of phobias. Yeah, those are the fears. Okay. Whereas what is a mania then? Anyone? We call it a manic disorder. So when your, you can say, mental health issues become extreme, then your behavior may become manic, or it leads to a mania, which is a very, you can say, intense, you can say, mental condition, where because of the mania, you feel compelled to do certain antisocial activities. You may be compelled to hurt others. You may be compelled to do negative things. And so there comes the need for intervention also. So yes, the students in the class have many such issues, and they are reflected when you can say through, let's say, lack of concentration in the class. They are reflected through fidgetiness in the class. Students fidget all the time. They are not paying attention to the teacher. All these issues are all reflected through the behavior in the class. So once again, students too need to acknowledge these health issues and challenges. But as I said that in India particularly, the stigma of visiting psychiatrists is so, you can say, extreme that again, teachers as well as students are prevented from seeking professional help, merely to, you can say, avoid being stigmatized. Because if they know, they feel that yes, if my friends or if my colleagues come to know that I've been visiting a psychiatrist, or as he's called, the shrink, right? I really wonder why he's called the shrink, because he definitely doesn't shrink your brain. He just expands it, in fact. Yes, but there is this, you can say, extreme, you can say, avoidance of visiting the professionals to overcome these very common mental health issues. So both the teachers as well as students, first of all, need to acknowledge that yes, whether I do have this mental health challenge, whether this is a mental health issue which needs to be acknowledged by me first, then maybe the family, and then maybe seek the right help in time. So timely interventions, timely seeking of professional help is very, very important. It becomes an important, you can say, timely thing to be done. Or else simple mental health disorders can escalate and grow into
Rohini ma'am, I guess there's some technical issue. Can you able to hear us? Wait for 2 minutes, students. Ma'am will be resuming again. I guess there's some technical issue. Wait for 2 minutes. So we have two modes to join this lecture, to attend this session. One is through Zoom link and another is to YouTube link, which we have provided on various groups. Okay, we are working on it. Ma'am will be soon joining the session. Till then, if you have any question, any queries, then you can write it in the chat box and we'll ask this to the ma'am, Rohini ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so meanwhile, you can think of the questions, the queries, which you can ask to the ma'am. Write it in the chat box. Okay, so ma'am,
I'm really
Rohini ma'am,
this disruption. I'm
it's
extremely
okay
sorry,
ma'am.
students,
It's okay ma'am. We can resume now.
yeah. Okay, so I had covered most of the points for the students, but had already told you at the end that students and teachers must acknowledge that they have these issues, and the timely guidance itself is going to help to improve this whole, you can say, well-being of the teachers and improve the mental health of the students. So it is not that students today do definitely focus on being physically fit, and we feel that the students are really health conscious, as they should be. They are going to gyms, they are doing workouts and everything. But what about the mental well-being? Do we really even focus on those issues? I think students must ask themselves that too. And you have to remember that the people around you are not going to understand your challenges. They are not going to understand your issues or your journey if you are undergoing one of these mental health issues. It's a painful journey. Definitely, having a mental health issue is a painful journey. You do realize that, yes, you are somewhere different from the other students. You have an issue which other students are not facing. And definitely, nobody is going to be with you on your journey. You yourself have to have self-help first. As it is always said that, yes, first you must love yourself if you want to really love others and be a good, you can say, social interactor. So here, the need is not for the others. The need is not for them. The need is for you to seek the professional help. The second important point, as I already mentioned, that don't get into the trap of being positive all the time. Though we are talking about positivity and positive mental health for teachers and students, you don't have to be positive all the time. It is perfectly okay to feel sad. It is perfectly okay to have a small bout of depression, because yes, it is a medical condition, no doubt acknowledged, which can be overcome with the right kind of guidance and counseling. And so you can feel angry, annoyed, frustrated, scared, anxious, anxiety, all these I've talked about. So having these feelings doesn't make you, you can say, an insane person. It only makes you have a person with certain mental health challenges, some issues which are not insurmountable. You can easily overcome them. And what above all, what does these acknowledgement of all these just makes you acknowledge the fact that, yes, you are human. It makes you human, in fact, because each one of us, with no exception, has had mental health challenges at some point of time. Lastly, I would like to conclude by just saying a few quotes. One is from the famous writer Maya Angelou, and she says that if you don't like something, then you have to change it. And if you can't change it, then change your attitude. This goes for both teachers as well as the students. And nothing can actually stop you with, or nothing can stop a man with the right mental attitude from achieving his or her goal. But nothing on earth, however, can help a man with the wrong mental attitude. So keep these words in mind, these precious words of, you can say, wisdom given by these, you can say, famous personalities. And I'm sure they have learned from experience the hard way too. And remember, lastly, that you are not alone. And there is a big club of such persons requiring restoration of mental health. And no great mind has ever existed without a touch of madness. Okay, so thank you. If there are any questions from the students?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll go through it. But thank you so much, ma'am, for the very informative session. You have been introduced the terms like anthrophobia and all these things. Okay, wait. Okay. So you have been introduced this new terms, new things, and not only you emphasize on the mental health of students, you also put light upon the mental health of teachers also. And in such pandemic era where education has been highly impacted, not only in terms of the organization and structural level, but at also the students and teacher level also. So you have put a very nice light and very nice insight on this whole issue. And one more thing which I totally agree upon this, that teachers are always involved in the continuous learning processes. Even if students comes and students goes out, but teachers will be still there and they are continuously involving in such processes. So their mental health will play a very important role. And also one more thing, that mainly the students in this century, they mainly put emphasis on the physical fitness. But here we need to focus upon the mental health also. So thank you, ma'am, for your insights. We'll ask for any questions from the student side. Yes, any question?
Or the teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Shreya?
Ma'am, I was just wondering, so since we are talking about mental issues, health issues, what is something that we can actively do to participate in the classroom for like a timely thing to make both the teachers and the students mentally stable?
Yes, this is a very good question. As I told you, that students are sometimes having a fear of interacting or asking questions even in the class. Yes,
exactly.
Basically, one thing is to be made very clear here, that asking questions does not mean that you are a slow learner. It merely will reflect the fact that yes, you are more eager to go into the depth of the issue. So never be shy of asking questions, whether it is even a relevant one or maybe related to the topic which is being taught. Just ask the question with a little bit of confidence. What happens is that because of lack of confidence, many students don't ask the questions, or else it is merely due to fear of the peer ridicule. What will the other students in the class say? Will they think that I'm a dumb student? These are some fears, and these are very real. And so because of fear, students don't ask questions in the class. So what should be your mantra? Should be just confidence. You have to have the confidence that yes, I am going to ask this question. If others in the class are going to laugh about it, nothing should be entering your mind without your consent. So let their laughter, let their negative laughter not enter your mind. Your mind is a sacred enclosure. Only you can allow thoughts to enter it. And so if there is some negative comments about you, you have to exclude them from your mind. This requires a lot of technique. It is not an easy process, definitely, for young students, because what you need is always pure acceptance, right?
Yes.
So yes, don't be afraid of interaction in the class. And teachers definitely not ridicule you, because they are there in the class to give the best. They are definitely going to address all your you can say concerns or your questions and doubts about the topic being taught.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes you might not realize it, but other people might have the same question.
Yes, in fact, others will be thankful that you are asking the question on their behalf and they didn't have the courage to do so.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Any other question?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, you're mute.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. So there's no question. Is there any again question? Because we have 1 minute, Abhi. You can ask questions to Rohini, ma'am. Yes. So, ma'am, there's no question. So we conclude this session.
Can I please interrupt? I'm so sorry, but I know
yes.
I will get the opportunity to talk to you soon. So I was just wondering, since I want to do a PhD and learn a lot more ahead, and psychological background is exactly what I want. So I was hoping that you could give some insight about it.
See, if you are hoping to do a PhD in psychology, right? That's what you are.
Yeah.
Yes. So psychology is a vast ocean. I mean, it has so many aspects to it. So you'll have to really focus and pinpoint the area of the psychological problem that you want to take for your study. So you can't say that I want to do a PhD in psychology. You have to be very certain about which area. It's, as I told you, there are so many various aspects to human psychology, and the human mind is a mystery, in fact. So if you say that, yes, where do all your thoughts stem from? You say the mind. Where do all your feelings and emotions stem from? You say the mind. And psychology is concerned with the emotions in your mind. But yes, if the doctor is asked to identify where the mind is, he'll not say mind, he'll say the brain.
Yes.
So psychology has to be a very, you can say different, it's a different discipline of study, which talks about the total well-being of the person, the total personality. So focus on which area first. Identify the area. Then only you can focus on identifying what you want to do and in-depth research in.
Yes, well, I was hoping to do something that is related more to the legal side since I'm learning law right now. But I'm not really able to, even after a research, I'm not really able to pinpoint what I want to do.
Yeah, okay. I think I'll address your question on a one-to-one level later on, but maybe you can focus on psychology of, say, advocates or judges. If you want to do something on the legal area, again, as I told you, you have to pinpoint it down to which focus group you have.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, Rohini ma'am, we can conclude here with your permission.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you very much. So now I would like to invite Assistant Professor Neelam Dikhe to invite our next resource person. Neelam ma'am, can you hear me?
I sign out?
Yes, ma'am. If you want to, you can. Yes.
Okay. Thank
you, ma'am,
for inviting me here. Please convey my
thank you,
principal and to the
yes,
management.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, definitely.
I'd like to congratulate all of you for having such a wonderful topic for discussion, which is the need of the day.
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes. Neelam ma'am, please, I would like you to invite our next resource person. Neelam ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, sure, Bhumika ma'am. Yes.
Thank you,
Give
ma'am.
me a second.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Bhumika ma'am, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
So next guest in this series of webinar is Dr. Sora Bhubari. So Dr. Sora Bhubari holds his bachelor in law and master's in international law from Savitribai Phule Pune University and PhD from University of Mumbai. He holds various diplomas like cyber law, and PG diplomas in human rights, etc. Then professor and in charge of international collaborations at Marathwada Mitra Mandal Shankara Chavan Law College. He represented India at The Hague, Switzerland, Xiamen, China, Asian Development Bank, the Oxford University, Sri Lanka, Japan, and UNESCO. He is recipient of a special VO20 silver medal in VO20 UNCSD, that is Conference on Social Development. His name was recommended to UNESCO by the Ministry of Human Resource Development of India. Furthermore, he interned at National Human Rights Commission of India with the Best Intern Award. He is the Environmental Law Champion for Asia Pacific Regional Network and currently serving as a commission member of IUCN World Commission on Environmental Law. He has completed various training programs from China, USA, United Nations, Delhi, Gandhinagar, Madras, Hyderabad, etc. He has delivered more than 175 guest lectures in various universities in India and abroad. He has published extensively at international and national platforms, which includes research papers, book chapters, edited books, monographs, etc. At his institute, he has pioneered academic research center, public policy center, and international collaborations, and also initiated MOUs between Shankarachavan Law College. He recently Chronicle of exceptional contribution to education. Special award, exemplary work in student development by the hands of Sri Mandira Bedi, and titled
Neelam ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Am I audible clearly now, Bhumika ma'am?
Yes, Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are audible now.
Sorry for the disturbances. I'll continue. He recently bestowed with India Prime Quality Education Award 2021 by the Chronicle Journal of exceptional contribution towards the education. He received Special Achievement Award for exemplary work in student development by the hands of Srimati Mandela Baby and titled Innovative Professor of the Year by Indian Glory Awards. It is indeed our pleasure to have such a dynamic personality with us, sir. I welcome Dr. Sora Bhubari to enlighten our participants on mental health of prisoners from philosophy to practice through laws and reforms. Welcome, sir.
Yes. Thank you so much, Neelam ma'am, and thank you to Sunita ma'am as a principal of Model Law College. I hope I'm audible clearly and my slides are visible to you.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yes, great. So we'll quickly start with the topic for the day as the mental health of the prisoners from philosophy to the practice through laws and reforms. Now, whenever we talk about this particular topic, today we have to discuss about the mental health of each and every variable, not only the variable, the stakeholders, and almost at all the platforms, the most important issue which was deliberately being seen by different authorities. Deliberately be focused by international and national authorities. And so let us have a look about the same thing in context with the prisoners. Now, when we talk about the mental health of the prisoners, there are number of we can say permutations and combinations whenever it comes to law and practice, and we have to again cross-verify that in what context we are talking about the mental health. Is that because of the mental health he is doing the crime? The second, because of he is there in the prison, so his mental illness is there, or because of he is having some kind of the mental disorder, he discriminated in the prisons as well. So there are three different dimensions whenever we talk about the mental health of the prisoners. Now let us try to understand the different kind of variables in context with this. Now I have bifurcated three categories of the people who are by and large become the part and parcel of this particular mental health care system of the prisoners. The first is doctors, psychiatrists, nurses, mental health professionals. So these are basically the staff or trained staff who have more knowledge about the field, about the mental part of the body. In all that context, they are known to be the best one. The second part is advocates, judges, and criminology professionals. So basically, these are the people who are well versed with the facts, with the legal provisions in context with the mental health, or to churn basically the law, whatever is available on this particular subject matter. And the third part, it is about the prison, observational homes, or custodial settings as well. So basically, these are the people who are at the part of the implementing the mechanism, or on that side where they actually administering the things. And so these three angles need to be understood. We need to understand, because we need to treat that particular mental health of the prisoners by and large, irrespective of the situation. Okay. And so that's why we need to now go ahead with a reactive role to the proactive role. Now, what is this reactive role? Now, whenever we talk about the jurisprudence or legal theory, we know that, or rather, we talk about the theories of the punishment in your Indian Penal Code, that is law of crimes, or the criminology subject. You'll find it out that at the first time, the punishment part was taken into consideration from the range point of view. Okay, and so basically, whatever is an action, there is a reaction. And in a similar context, when you have that reactive approach, that's slowly been developed, and then we have the deterrence theory, that is deterrent theory, where we say we say that no, to have the deterrence in the society, like we say that for the rarest of the rare case, we have such kind of the provision, and why we have to give such kind of the punishments in such kind of the heinous crimes, because basically to have the deterrence in the society, and so people shall not do that particular act. And then we now be moving to the reformation. So basically proactive role has to be played now at this platform, because mental health is a grievous issue, which we have to tackle. It is no other way around to come up on this particular issue. And so that's why reformation, and now we call it as rehabilitation as well. So reformation as well as rehabilitation of the prisoners is important. Okay. So basically, what type of the mental condition he must be having before doing that particular crime, or during the crime, or incarceration, or post-release. So these are the 4 phases we can say when we have the life of the prisoner. Okay, and we have to deal with the mental issue not only for one point. Okay, we have to discuss mental issue at every point of time. Okay, so basically it might have happened that because of some kind of drug addiction. So again, when you have the drug addiction, again it has direct connection with the mental health. When it is having the direct connection with the mental health, then all the parameters of the mental health, the reformative actions, everything now will be applicable to it. Okay, and so before the crime also is one of the point. During the crime, so basically under intoxication, probably he must have done that point of that kind of thing, or maybe an aggression, or maybe a reaction to whatever the government has done with him, or the justice might not be there in his case. And so that's why such kind of these situations may arise, and so that's why we may say that during the crime also the mental health, to understand the mental health is important. Now incarceration is basically when we put him behind the bars in the prison, and so the system within the prison, we have to cross verify whether that is having its positive or negative impact on the prisoners as well. Okay, now again in due course of time, I'm also going to discuss about the prison staff, because you might have read in the newspapers, so might have seen on the news channels that in most of the prisons you may find the suicidal death of the staff members as well. So see, this is how we are very reluctant to accept the things. Okay, that also one of the point that I'm going to discuss, how the system is very reluctant to accept the things that mental illness is it's now highest it's at the peak point, and it is to be we need to resolve it as soon as possible. Okay, on an urgent basis. And the 4th phase is the post-release. Now, what is post-release? Now, basically, when you release that particular individual from prison, then acceptance by the society, his own things, condition, situation, that also is going to have its impact probably on the mental health of the prisoner. Okay, so basically, when we talk about the a timeline according to the CRPC or other procedural laws, we know that this is a crime. So basically, the crime is because of the aggression, because of the domestic violence, because of the public nuisance, illegal activity. So such kind of things or situations may be there. After he has done the crime, there's a process of arrest. Then when it is a process of arrest, then probably before making a mind to be good citizen in the society, he gets contacted with the crime world which is there within the prison. And then probably that may have its impact when we release that particular individual post or complete after he completes or she completes the punishment period. And so that's why life as a criminal is totally starting from prior period till the release of the offender or the criminal. We can see that it's a huge impact of the things on the mental health of an individual. Okay. Now, when we talk about the before or during the crime, we know that there are higher chances of having that particular person suffering through the severe mental health. Okay, so probably that is also one of the points that we need to understand. The substance use, basically the drug addictions, you can see the personality disorder one may be facing with, or because of all these things, one may come in conflict with the laws. So this happens at the primary stage of the as a life, life as a criminal in that life of the individual. Now, when it comes to incarceration, we know that when he goes to the jail, there's lack of system which talks about or which takes care of the pre-existing mental health facilities. Okay, so basically, whether the person is suffering through the mental health or not is one of the point. And along with that, we may have the substance use. Okay, so whatever the substance that they have been using, and because of the illegal activities, they probably coming coming to this particular or doing that particular crime is one of the things. Then delayed of the trials is also having its huge impact on the mental health of prisoners. Okay, so costly litigations, the rejection of the bail, huge number of the under trial prisoners. Those who have visited Edinburgh jail, who used to visit the lawyer's lawyer's office or been interning with them, you might have come across the thing that most of the prisoners they do not even know about their rights, and so that's why the concept of the legal aid and free legal assistance to such kind of the prisoners been started. So basically, that's why this one of the point that why we have huge number of the prisoners in the jail as well. Okay, and this is also when you have the overcrowded jails, it is also going to hamper the rights of an individual. Okay, now basically one may ask the question that okay, they are the prisoners, they must have done some heinous crimes, and why we have to treat them as on a humanitarian grounds, human rights, why we have to think upon it. Basically, this is again a basic theory that you already must have been studied, that no person has born as a criminal. Okay, some situation might have happened to him and something that might have been there, and that made him to do any particular crime. Okay, so even in most of the drugs addict person, you can find that the stress is the most important thing. Because of that, they probably indulge into such kind of the activities. Then when it comes to the violence inside the prison is also one of the points, because you might have seen in the in various documentaries that when you have an overcrowded jails, you can see that there's always a we can say overlapping of the interest of one over the another, and so that's why it may hamper again the mental health of an individual. And then sexual abuse is one of the things during incarceration, probably higher chances of happening. Okay. Now, when we talk about the release, as in a previous slide we have talked about, the stigma is attached to them. Okay. Now, see, consider that one of the prisoner is there, and so after completion of his punishment, that particular period now has been released. So when it's been released, then societal acceptance is not there, okay? Or even if you try to give any kind of work to them, because there's the highest unemployment rate when you have such kind of the people. And so highest discrimination that happens also when it gets employment. And so that kind of the situation after the release as well is also going to hamper. I mean, see, if a person has done mistakenly or by accident any kind of crime in his life, it means that whole of his life is of no use, basically. This kind of thinking of the or at the societal level must be changed, because okay, whatever that you think that criminals shall be treated as in criminals only, but there are higher chances of having the information into their health condition, the mental condition, probably instead of, there are two ways when they are released from the prisons. One is to again engage into crime or to get connected with the whole criminal world. do whatever the things that they do and again come to the jail. Okay, so this is one of the way when they release. And another way, when they come out, probably they have the good, good habits. Probably they have accepted, they have adopted, and probably are thinking that now henceforth will have good life. And these two type of conditions that might have happened, and then we have to treat them separately as well. Now, whenever it comes to the other important phenomenal aspects is the social, economical, and political. Now, social, as we know, is the social acceptance that we already have studied. Now, when it comes to economical, we know that unemployment and the discrimination that is going to hamper the economical, we can say, strength of that prisoner, or post-release, we can say that the individual has completed his punishment. And to some extent, you can also see that some political aspects are also gets attached to such kind of the criminals, probably utilizing, or rather we say misusing them for some purposes at a political level. It might be seen, we are witnessing these kind of things. We are just not accepting the things. Okay, so all these things that happen in a life as a criminal to the human being. And so all these aspects, what is going to hamper mostly, and it is 100% is going to hamper, is the mental health of that particular individual. And so that's why we need to have the mental health care. Okay, so now what do you mean by mental health care? It is just not treating that particular prisoner or criminal as a person who is suffering through the mental illness, but at different kind of at different levels, we must have such kind of mental health care facilities to be provided. So basically the community level, the institutional level, and the prison level. Now what I'm saying so, because basically a person is we say that one individual cannot live without the society. Okay, so he's a social animal. Okay, now instead of animal, we must say he's a social human being. Okay, because there's a difference between the human rights and animal rights. Okay, and so that's why as a human being, he must he is a part and parcel of the community. And so in the community, we have to analyze that what kind of things are basically making him to indulge into the crime. Okay, so basically understanding the we can say the mental health or the elements which are affecting the mental health of an individual, that we have to understand. So very simple example I must give you, that whenever we talk about the consumption of the drugs. Okay, so we know that we have a number of NGOs, we have number of community services, number of we can say Daru Mukti Kendra, whenever we talk about the drug, then de-addiction centers are probably in context with the addictions to the drugs, addiction to the liquor, alcohol. Okay, so these kind of things we can see in the community. But again, whenever it comes to the population, because we have a huge number of population, and we must have to provide that particular facility almost to each and every corner of the society. Okay, so it's just not that few centers will work and they'll handle these particular cases, but at a broader angle, we have to consider these mental health care facilities. Then at an institutional level also, we must have to think about the mental health care, the hospitals, the educational institutions. So probably you can see now almost each and every educational institution is one official psychiatrist or psychologist. Okay, so you can see those kind of people being appointed in all the institutions. Okay, basically, suppose for example, I'm working as an IT professional, and again, the working conditions, the duration of the time, screen time, basically, and that is also going to hamper my mental health. And so that's why to tackle such kind of the tackle such kind of the obstacles, or to tackle some such kind of the elements which are going to hamper the mental health at a large perspective, you must have to provide an institutional at an institutional platform the mental health care services. if you understand the students at an educational level, because they are also suffering from the mental health issues, okay? So you can very much contact, okay? One more stigma which is there in the society, which is, I mean, rather we can say the evilest thing that we usually say, because whenever if a person concerns with a psychologist or psychiatrist, we start abusing that person, okay? So this is also one of the societal changes that we need to have whenever the person goes to the mental. It is not he's totally mad, 100% mad. So that's why he's going to that particular psychiatrist or the psychologist. But no, we have to think that each and every person. So if a person is not approaching towards the authorities, it does not mean that he's not suffering through the mental illness. Each and every person has his mental illness, but the point is that it depends upon how you handle it, okay? So if you fail to handle it, then probably not good consequences you can see. But when you handle it carefully, with patience, then probably you come out with such kind of the mental illness, okay? And these things may not be seen in the prison administration to some extent, okay? And so that's why at a prison level also we must have that mental health care services and facilities, okay? Now, in the same concern, let us try to understand one of the law, that is Penrose Law, one of the famous principle given by one of the scientists, Penrose, regarding the prison. He said that population size of a prison is inversely proportional to the psychiatric hospitals. Okay, now what is this? Now, whenever I use this particular sign, you can see the inversely proportional symbol 1 by the variant. Okay, so basically, when you see that the population size of the prison is increasing, it means that the psychiatric hospitals are less in number. If the psychiatric hospitals are higher in number, then probably you will see there's a decrease in the population size of the prison. Okay, so this is how he talked about the psychology, crime, and the law. Okay, so this one thing that I wanted to talk about. Okay, now let's come to an Indian aspect of it. Okay, you can very much have, I think, your whole day you're discussing about the Mental Health Care Act 2017. 103 section of the Mental Health Care Act 2017, we know that the prisoners with mental illness is dealing with has been dealt by 103, the Mental Health Care Act of 2017. So I'm just going to have the reference of only one section because it talks about specifically about the mental illness. You can very much see that an order under section 30 of the Prisoners Act 1900 or under 144 of Air Force Act or section 144, etc., or 335, 330 of CRPC, directing the admission of the prisoner with mental illness into any suitable mental health establishment shall be sufficient authority for the admission of such person in such establishment to which such person may be lawfully transferred for care and treatment therein. Okay, so basically, right of the prisoner when the person is suffering through the mental illness, provided that the transfer of prisoner with mental illness to psychiatric ward in the medical wing of the prison, medical wing of the prison. So medical wing is there in the prison, so it is also mandatory. Shall be sufficient to meet the requirements under this section, provided further that whether there is no provision for psychiatric ward in the medical wing, the prisoner may be transferred to mental health establishment with prior permission of the board. Okay, so basically this is the first subsection, and these are the other 6 subsection of 103. I just want to focus more upon the 6th subsection, which says the appropriate government shall set up mental health establishment in the medical wing of at least one prison in each state and union territory, and prisoners with mental illness may ordinarily be referred to and cared for in the said mental health establishment. So basically the mental health establishment, as I have referred in the previous slide, is must when it comes to the prison and the prison administration. Okay. You also have the mental health care rights of the persons with mental illness, rules 2018. Basically, they give us the minimum standard and the procedures for mental health care services in the prison. There is a schedule which is attached to these kind of the rules where you can find it in context with the prison administration. Now, one of the famous case which was decided in the Supreme Court, where the judgment has come out on 12th of February 2019, accused X versus State of Maharashtra, where the punishment was reduced because of the delay in the execution of the punishment. So, the basis of various evidences and the opinion offered by expert psychiatrists, the petition was allowed and death sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. So the full bench also issued the various guidelines which need to be followed in the future cases which are discussed in case analysis below. So if you read the accused X versus State of Maharashtra, you will find it out that whenever we talk about any particular person who is suffering who is or basically incarceration, we know that there are a number of different facts which are responsible for having its impact on the mental health condition. Okay. Now, see, if a person is suffering, if it is being given death sentence, if it is given to the person, and is just waiting for execution of the death sentence from ages. Okay, and so you can very much correlate that. Every day he has under the impression that okay, his death sentence is soon being executed. Okay, and probably that is going to hamper the mental health of an individual. And so that's why Supreme Court here not only have made this particular thing, I mean death sentence commuted to the life imprisonment, but also has tackled two of the important aspects: the procedural part at the CRPC, and secondly the mental health condition in the prisons. Okay, so they have talked extensively on the mental health condition in the prison and the prison administration, and how they probably creating a kind of a psychopaths when it comes to the release of the prisoners. Okay, so that's why when you analyze such kind of the cases, so it is just not the accused X versus State of Maharashtra. You'll find number of cases where the Supreme Court has passed the guidelines, but this is the most important case that you must understand and you must read. Okay, so I'm not going to go into each and every aspect of it. You can just download the judgment and you can just read out, and you will find that how the Supreme Court also uttered the same thing in context with the mental health condition of the prisoners. Then what's next? Okay, after that case analysis, then what's next? So basically, two of the important aspects, that is the independent system that we must have for the mental health of the prisoners, and we just not have to have the independent system, but we must have pre to post. Okay, so before committing the crime or just prior to the commission of the crime, we will be able to stop him by doing that particular crime. For we can restrain him, or if has done that particular crime under the impression of the mental illness or because of the mental illness, then we must have to treat him differently, because he's not the same person as the other prisoners are there in the prison. Okay, we also have to cross verify whether he's suffering. Even one of the example you must Google it out, that even having a diabetes in the prison is the most dangerous thing, because that particular thing is going to again usually destroy the mental we can say the mental thing of that particular prisoner, of that particular criminal. Okay, because that's why we usually have, we can see that as a regular checkup of the prisoners at that when during that point of time. Okay. Now, one more important point in pre to post is that, I mean, again, as I said that I'll give the instances where we do not accept these particular things in practical, but that almost without any exception, all the prisons in the world, okay, I'm talking about the world, there's a huge drugs being supplied to the prisoners. Okay, now whatever may be the points, I mean, either through the family members of the prisoners or through probably the staff members or what not be. I mean, no, I'm not going into details the ways how the drugs being provided to the criminals or offenders. But again, this is also one of the, I mean, this is everything that we're talking about is on the basis of so this is totally on the basis of the statistical agendas, the statistical information which has been given by different authorities, the national, international authorities. And so that's why on the basis of that, I'm talking about such kind of the, we can say, drug addictions. Okay. Now see, if the person is a drug addict, no, we cannot directly, I mean, no, we cannot stop him instantly from that particular addiction. Okay, so slowly we have to treat him, taking the help of his mental health, and accordingly, we can de-addict him from that particular intake of the drugs. But again, that system is also to be there. I mean, though it is very hard to have the person-to-person system, but again, there's need of an hour, because ultimately the life of the prisoner is also going to have the same impact on the other other inmates of that particular prison as well. And so coming down to the international perspective, I think you must have read the information brochure given by World Trade Organization, World Health Organization, and the ICRC, the Red Cross organization. Okay. Now, whenever we have this international perspective, the report says that the mental disorder occurs at high rates in all countries of the world. It is not just the one country suffering from the mental disorder in the prisons, but we can see this in each and every prison. So basically, the prisons are bad for the mental health. Okay, so prisons are sometimes used as a dumping ground for the people with a mental disorder. So this is also we can see in most of the prisons. Okay, so people with a mental disorder are exposed to the stigma and discrimination, as we have seen, and effective treatment is possible, but too often the available resources are wasted. Okay, so see, that's why we need to have the perfect management of all these particular resources so that we can tackle this problem of mental illness in the prisons. Okay, so basically a number of things that have been given by international platform is to have the diversion of the people with the mental disorder towards the mental health system, and to provide the prisoners with access to appropriate mental health treatment, okay, and care as well. So provide access to acute mental health care in psychiatric wards of general hospitals. So that's why I'm saying that it shall be more accessible as well. Okay, and so accordingly, the psychiatric wards also can be there, can be established. So ensure the availability of the psychological support and rationally prescribed psychotropic medication as well. Okay, so medication is important. At the same time, the mental health is important to be healed through the yogas and meditation as well. Okay, so medication and meditation both are the important aspects of it. Provide training to staff. You can see that the staff which is there at the prison or at such kind of the institutions, rather we can say, we'll see that these staffs are general staff. I mean, these are not trained staff to deal with the prisons suffering through the mental illness or mental health, okay, or having disturbed mental health. Depression is also one of the important aspects, okay, and so that's why the training of the staff is also important. Then provide information or education to the prisoners and their families in the mental health issues. So basically, some of the prisons, they have come up with the video conferencing with their family members. So probably when you see your family members, then probably the less chances of committing again the crime is there. Okay, so basically making him more available to the family, or making him more connected with the family, that definitely is going to have the positive impact on treating his illness in the prison. So it is also to promote the high standards in the prison management. Okay, so we always talk about the prison reforms, but when you see actual work of the prisoners, again at the both levels, I mean, no, we cannot say that it is because of the loopholes in the law we are suffering through such kind of the malpractices, or we cannot even say that it is because of the prison administrative authorities where no one is at fault. Okay, we are just not managing the things properly, so that's why probably we are facing the things. And so that's why high standard in the prison management, if we find if you do so, then probably we may see the positive changes. Ensure that the needs of the prisoners are included in national mental health policies and the plans. And so that recently the mental health care was in a prime, we can say, concern was given by the government. And so that's why now we can see, we probably will see in the next financial year more money to be spent on the mental health care things. So promote the adoption of the mental health legislation that protects the human rights, and is also encourage the inter-sectoral collaborations. Okay, so basically all the stakeholders need to understand this particular aspect, and then we have to understand that these are the human beings. Okay, so though they have done the crime, but again, I mean, see, those who are having no guilt, I mean, we can left them behind, but who are having the guilt, or who are ready to be good in the society and ready to live a life in a normal situation as a normal life, we have to help them. So that's why the encouragement to intersectoral collaboration is important. Coming to the last part for the session, that is the United Nations standard minimum rules for the treatment of the prisoners. Okay, so we call it as in the Nelson Mandela rules. So you can very much see the booklet, that is a handbook given by UNODC, that is United Nations Office on the Drugs and Crimes. And you will find that whenever we talk about the physical health, we always need a mental health. Okay, rather we need to take care of more mental health, because you must have seen, and I'll just give one reference. Okay, now during this particular COVID situation, you might have seen that people were saying that you will be fine if you are suffering through corona, but you have to strong that you have to think that I'm going to overcome with this particular COVID-19. And so when you do so, then probably that will have its impact greatly on your health and the body, and probably body reacts with the medicines probably, and you have seen that the positive results has been an outcome of this. Okay, now the same, we can say, reference we can have it with the mental health. Okay, so you need to follow certainly some minimum standards at the prison level, and it's not the prison level that we must talk about, but at every point of time. When we're talking about the society is the most important concern in the life of any individual. Okay, so when a person does anything, that the first thing that it comes into his mind is that what the society may think. Okay, and so that's why either you have to change the societal norms or society in such concern that it will help to accept the prisoners or post-release such kind of the criminals, or else you have to inculcate the spirit in the people itself when they get released out of the prison, that think of yourself and not only on the what the society may think. Okay, so either you have to do things. Okay, because see, I mean, I'm the person also belonging to the society, and we know that how the society or how many years that society takes for having the social transformation. Okay, so transformation is not a thing that happens in a year or two. Okay, so it is a transformation. Okay, not the change. And so that's why you need to understand this from that angle whenever we talk about the mental health of the prisoners. Okay, so I think that's it from my side when I talk about the mental health and of the prisoners. Basically, laws are there, regulations are there, reforms are there, but again, at the same time, whatever is more feasible, that thing that we have to adopt, and accordingly we have to suggest, we can say, the more reforms into the mental health and the legal framework. Okay, so thank you. If you have any question, you can just post it in the chat window. I'll just go through the chat window, or you can just unmute yourself and you can ask. I'll just check
Okay,
it.
sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir. So, thank you so much. Can I conclude your lecture?
Yes, 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 sure,
Okay,
sure,
sir.
sure.
Sir, thank you so much for enlightening us with the new aspect of mental health, relating or linking it with the crime or criminal activity. It was a very enlightening session, but there are few doubts from the students' side, a question. So we'll take the question session quickly.
Yeah, sure.
So the question from
So I'll just go from the downwards. Okay. Are you a
Sir, Luna
psychologist?
Lisa wants to ask the question.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Luna
Good
Lisa.
afternoon.
Sir, I'm a first semester student of 3 years LLB and
Yes.
with an organic chemistry background. Thank you for your absorbing and a very insightful lecture, and it was very educating. I have a couple of questions, and basically they are academic related. In one of your slides, you mentioned of a case law, accused X versus the state of Maharashtra of 2019, the Supreme Court case. I was wondering, sir, why is it accused X? Is it something to do with protecting the privacy of the accused, or was it something else? That is my
Yes,
first
yes.
question. And then my second question is, sir, we have understood from your lecture that internationally the problem of the mental health of the prisoners and the rehabilitation. I just wanted to know, is there any nodal body in India which is solely working towards the protecting and rehabilitating the regarding the mental health of the prisoners? Yes, sir. Sir, are you there?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm there. I'm just posting. Okay. Yes. So yes, we do have the bodies, specialized bodies. Okay. So you can see that there's an NIMHANS is basically the body which takes care of the national institution of the mental health care. Apart from this particular body, you can so I posted the web link of the official website of the NIMHANS. Apart from that, basically. It is totally been workable on the basis of prison administration, advocates, judges, and the NGOs. Okay, and so that's why we may not find any concrete, we can say, a body which basically focuses only on the prisoners' mental health. Whenever we talk about different dimensions of it, because it's just not the mental health overall we have to take care of when we talk about the prisoners, but no, there are different kind of elements. So probably because of the mental health, if someone is doing the crime, or because of he has done such some kind of the crime, and so that's why his mental health got disturbed, or probably suffering through the mental health during during his in the prison, and so he's been discriminated by the inmate. So these are the different elements of it. But basically, whenever we talk about such kind of the elements, we know that we need to tackle all those elements on just not the basis of one particular body, because NIMHANS is the world-renowned center for the mental health. Okay, so neurosciences, life fields, number of things that we attach to this particular NIMHANS, and so that's why we also need to understand. We also need to see that the people who are expert in the psychology, who are doctors, the psychiatrists and psychologists, they must also be the part of the whole system, so that each and every prison can be administered in a better way when it comes to the mental health of the prisoners. Coming down to your first question, yes, definitely. I mean, you must have, okay, you are the first semester student, so we have number of cases like X versus Y hospital is one of the cases that you may come across during your LLB syllabus. Probably, yes, definitely, to some extent that we must have to keep such kind of the names, so that it won't be, it won't create any kind of say bad impact on the life of an individual. Basically, rather we have to follow such kind of the things irrespective of the crimes, because basically when the person's name is there as a convict, then probably when he gets out of the jail, that stigma probably gets attached, because his name is basically known to everyone, and that will also create a kind of an negative impact on the mental health of the of that particular person. Okay, so probably that's why you can just read out the case, which is it is available. Specifically, as a student of law, you must read the CRPC part dealt by the Supreme Court in this concern. And prior to that, you must go through the facts of the case, and you'll realize that how there's a delay in the administration and a number of procedural parts that is also basically may give the justice, but delivery of the justice again have different sides. Okay, and so on that part, you can just verify this particular case.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, I've learned something new. I never knew that, case laws are also named like this. That's why. Thank you so much. I mean, so enlightening. I'll find out.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir. You want to say? Yes.
Yes. I'll just go through the to the chat window.
Okay.
Okay. Are you a psychologist or psychiatrist? I'm an assistant professor in a law school. Okay. So basically, as I told you, each and every stakeholder has to act so that we can tackle this particular problem. Okay. So yes, psychologists and psychiatrists must be there in any of such kind of institutions, because at the legal at the legal platform and at the mental platform, okay, or we can say the medical platform, both the platforms we need to balance. And so that's why yes, I mean, both are necessary, but I'm from the law background. In most of the cases, CNS stimulating drugs are used. Best to check once with the psychiatrist to determine the dosage. Yes, definitely. Even you can also refer the schedule given to the mental health rules. Okay, it was there in 2018. You can see there are different kind of the drugs being listed into it. You can also see that whenever you refer to any kind of the legal framework pertaining to the drug abuse or drug-related legal provisions, if you read, you can find always as a schedule attached to such kind of the legal framework to define what exactly or which type of the drugs that comes into the picture when there is an application of the law. Okay, as far as the treatment goes, both medication and the therapy is required depending on the severity of the symptoms. Definitely, because as I said, that person to person, though at this point of time, it may not be possible, but at the same time, we have to see the different angles, and accordingly we have to treat the prisoners depending upon what is the severity of the mental illness that they are suffering from. Okay. Okay, I think the nodal body, I have already talked about it. Diagnosis of the symptoms over a period of time is the only way. Yes, definitely, because we have to continuously observe them. Okay, I must lastly can refer to the case studies being taken by the Karnataka High Court, and some committee was established to have the study, the research on the prisoners, basically the mental health of the prisoners, and they've collected the urine and then accordingly they have checked the regular checkup that they have done, and they have come up with huge recommendations and conclusion that people who are suffering, who are suffering through the mental illness, and so that's why they have done any particular crime. So in their theory, at the starting point, so when there's at the entry level in the prison, the percentage of the drug was less as compared to the drugs that they have been taken during the prison, and so there's a huge increase in the drug addiction. So after the entry till the release, there's an increase in the drug addiction as well. Okay, so this is also one of the point that you need to understand, and so that's why we need to tackle this particular issue on a very different mode, because just having the laws or just having the medical science is not necessary, or it is just not sufficient to overcome this particular issue. So I think that's it. I've given almost all the answers to the questions. So yes, ma'am, you can proceed. Thank you very much. Convey my regards to Sunita ma'am as well. Thank you for giving me
Yes,
the
sir,
opportunity to talk with the young buddies. Probably I'll see them as a brighter future, because law is just not a single discipline. No, you have each and every point. So even see in a psychiatrist or psychologist, or as a person who's belonging to the law, no, you have number of things. Okay, one may go to treat only the people who are suffering through the depression. I mean, see, there's only one pointer on which you can have your career as well. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, Saurabh, sir. Very well said. Thank you on behalf of Modern Law College also that you have shown your presence, and also talk about the student, this new aspect of mental health, which is related with crimes and criminal activities. They have given us the case studies also. I recommend all the students to go through these cases, which have sir just now mentioned, to know about more about the mental things with related to criminals. Thank you, sir. Sir, now we'll be proceeding for the next resource person. So if you want to stay, you can, and you may leave if you want. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Assistant Professor Prajakta Bhagwat to introduce our new resource person. Let me check sir is in the meeting or not. Just okay, Prajakta ma'am will be waiting for a few minutes. 10 minutes will be waiting to the next resource person will be joining in the next 10 minutes. So we'll take a short break of 10 minutes.
Ma'am, we can have
Then
a
we'll
tea. We can have a tea till then.
Okay. It's okay. We'll take a short break of 10 minutes. Then we'll resume with our third session. Yes, ma'am? Okay, everyone.
No, ma'am. You're correct. We will take
Stay
a break
connected
of 10
only.
minutes. Okay.
Okay. So we'll
And we
start
will
our
start again.
next session on
We will
12:15.
start to be there in the.
Yes, everyone, all students requested to again join the link at 12:15 for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
ओके नाही आता मी व्हिडिओ आणि ऑडिओ ऑन केले आता.
आवाज येतो का एकदम?
येस.
आवाज येतो का?
काय प्रॉब्लेम नाही, तुला फोन करून टेक्निकल गोष्टी नंतर शेअर करू. आधी बोलवतो लागेल
डिस्क्रिप्शन.
Bhumika ma'am.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Yes, good afternoon. So we'll be resuming our session. Okay. So now I will invite Assistant Professor Prajakta Bhagwat to introduce our resource person for the coming session. Prajakta ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Bhumika. Yes. Thank you, Bhumika ma'am. In a secular democracy, it's the law. Never because he is evil.
Prajakta ma'am,
That is, after all,
sorry to
what
interrupt you.
distinguish a democracy from the theocracy.
Prajakta ma'am, there's voice breaking.
Am I audible, ma'am?
No, not clearly audible. There's some technical issue. Please.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yes. Now you're audible. Prajakta ma'am, you are not audible. Yes, Prajakta ma'am, you there?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes. Now you're audible.
Okay. Sorry for interruption. I'm saying that in a secular democracy, a person is supposed to be punished only when he breaks. Because he is evil. That after all.
Prajakta ma'am, sorry to interrupt you again, but there is some connectivity issue. You are not clearly audible. It's interrupting in between. Can you just please change the place you are sitting?
Yes, I have done, ma'am. Now?
Yes.
I will, what I will do, I will off my camera.
Okay. No issues.
Okay. Will it okay? Now, am I audible?
Yes. Now you are clearly audible.
Okay. So I'm saying that in a secular democracy, a person is supposed to be punished only when he breaks the law, never because he is evil. That is, after all, what distinguishes a democracy from the theocracy. A vast amount of psychiatric efforts has been and contribute to be and devoted a legal and quasi-legal activities. And they have also helped in administrating criminal law. Taking into that consideration, we have organized this webinar in collaboration with MIMH, that is Maharashtra Institute of Mental Health. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Nitin Abhivant. Dr. Nitin Abhivant, he is an associate professor at Department of Psychiatry at DJ Government Medical College, Pune. Sir has completed his graduation from SAT GS Medical College, KEM Hospital, Parel. Sir has also completed his master degree in psychiatry from the SAT GS Medical College, KEM Hospital, Parel, Mumbai. Sir has also worked as an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Dr. VM Government Medical College, Solapur. He has been worked as a senior registrar in Department of Psychiatry at SAT GS Medical College, KM Hospital, Parel, Mumbai. Sir has also completed FAIMER, means a Foundation for Advancement in International Medical Education and Research. Sir has also done work in the research and academic activities. He has published journals in national and international journals. Sir is also a recognized PG guide for MD Psychiatry, student by Maharashtra University of Health and Science. Sir is also holding the position, additional charge as Chief Administrative Officer at Maharashtra Institute of Mental Health since October 2017. I welcome you, sir. And now, sir will enlighten us on the topic that is legal provision and clinical practice, a psychiatric perspective. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, madam, for such a sweet introduction. It's nice to share a platform with non-medical people. Generally, we interact with the medical people most of the time, psychiatrists, conferences, and this thing. This is the first time to interact with those people who are not medical people but linked to mental health in a way which will ultimately improve the patient's care. So, as you rightly said, ki Maharashtra Institute of Mental Health, Pune is the state level institute of Government of Maharashtra. And we are working in the field of mental health. We are involving all the stakeholders like doctors, psychologists, like judiciary, legal people, common man, NGOs working for the mental health in the assessment and the progression of mental health services, all aspects of mental health in the state of Maharashtra. So I am really thankful to Modern Law College, PAC, and other your organizers for giving me the opportunity to collaborate with you and give an opportunity to speak on this topic. My topic will be mostly on, as I said, legal provisions. Already you have done legal provisions, so I will speak very little about the legal provisions. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I will be speaking less on the legal provision because you are the expert people on this issue. But I will be speaking about the clinical practice, about the psychiatry, what we interact in day-to-day life. What are the facts about psychiatry which I think legal person people should know. And I will take this opportunity to, as I was listening in the earlier lecture, so there is a lot of stigma about psychiatry, a lot of misconceptions about psychiatry. So I will take this opportunity even to generate awareness about mental health in the August audience. So I will speak about legal provisions and clinical practice. So first of all, health. Like everyone knows the definition of health by WHO is that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So this is the definition of health given by World Health Organization. So they have given the importance for the physical, mental, and social well-being. Unfortunately, in our scenario in India, whenever health is spoken about, we speak only about the physical aspect. Mental and social aspects or mental and social well-being of that person is very, very rarely attended by anyone. So I think we should start with the basics. The audience should know what the definition of health. So it includes the mental health. If you are physically well or physically healthy, but you are mentally unhealthy, that means you are not a healthy person. So it is not only the absence of disease, it is the well-being that is important to understand or to define someone as someone who is healthy. So this is the health. Coming to what is mental health. So mental health, lot of people have a lot of misunderstanding about who is mentally healthy person. So this is the definition given by World Health Organization. How will you define someone who is mentally healthy or not? So mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So if we see the definition of mental health is very vast. And I think if we apply this criteria to anyone or everyone, then we may realize, are we really mentally healthy people? Just because I don't have any mental symptoms or mental disorder, does that mean I'm mentally healthy? No. As per this definition, you should know your abilities. You should be able to cope with the normal stresses of life. So as per the definition, life is stressful. That's what WHO is saying. So whatever the normal stresses of life are there, one should be able to cope up with those stresses. After coping with the stresses, you should be work productively, and you should be able to contribute to your own community, which you are supposed to do. So this is the definition of mental health given by WHO. And mental health is determined by the social, psychological, and biological factors. So generally in our medical terminology, we say mental illness is a biopsychosocial disorder. We never say it's only biological disorder. The important point is that we try to address only the biological aspects while treatment or while assessing the mental health. But unless and until we also assess the psychological issues of that person, about the family member, about the community, and more than that, the social issues. Unless and until those social issues are addressed, we won't be able to treat a mentally ill person. So we should remember that mental health or mental illness has three determinants: social, psychological, and biological factors. So if you understand, like I will give an example for your understanding. Like mentally healthy or normal, what we say, like if you go by the very basics of the community medicine or the basics of medicine, then what is like when in medical literature, it's nowhere defined what is normal health, what is normalcy. In dictionary, you will see everybody define what is abnormal, what is wrong, what is illness, but what is normal? So in medical terminology, if it is a bell-shaped curve, like you are from the research field, so I think you must be of the bell-shaped curve in the this thing. So whatever comes between a plus and minus two standard deviations, that a plus and minus two standard deviation is called as normal. So something which is on the extreme, something which is on the extreme is called as abnormal. So like for example, if you take the height of a person, so height of a person, like in Indian standard, they're different, in international different standards for the height. What is normal height of Indian man, but normal height of the US man. So these are the standards which are varies from place, culture, religion, everything plays important role. So if someone is having height very less, it is abnormal. And at the same time, someone having the height which is more than what is supposed to be normal is also abnormal. Abnormal according to this definition. So anything which is beyond our acceptable limit is abnormal, and the same applies even for the mental health. So mental health, we do take care of all these issues. It's like, for example, in mental health, someone who is speaking like someone who is coming from the rural background of a Maharashtra or anywhere. So the way the person speaks, the way person lives in their community, the way the person dress is as per his community. By sitting in a metro and sitting in the cabin, I can't label that someone is abnormal just because उसने shirt नहीं पहना है. No, that is totally wrong. We should take into consideration all these aspects to define normalcy in mental health. In that culture, in that geographical area, if that thing is considered as a normal by most of the people, then it is normal. It may be abnormal for me to see someone just coming on the shorts and coming to my OPD, or someone who has long hairs coming to OPD, or someone wearing the sari. That is not abnormal. So we have to take into consideration a lot of aspects when we define what is normal mental health, even for the children and for the students. Like someone like IQ is like 100 is a normal IQ, what is considered as a normal IQ. So someone having low IQ, like less than 70, like their gradation, mild, moderate, severe, profound intellectual disability. So someone having low IQ is abnormal, and at the same time, someone having high IQ, more than 130, 140, it is abnormal according to us, because those people have very high standards. According to us, that doesn't fit in our so-called definition of two standard deviations. So anything which is beyond the normal accepted level is considered as abnormal in psychiatry or in mental health field. Now, what is mental illness? Now, this definition is given in the Mental Health Care Act 2017, which is implemented by the central government. Till now, we don't have the adequate definition of mental illness. How will you label someone as mental ill or not? So, mental illness is a substantial disorder of thinking. See, these are very important words. Like, listen carefully. Thinking, mood, perception, orientation, or memory. So any disorder of all these five that grossly impairs judgment, behavior, capacity to recognize reality, or ability to meet the ordinary demands of life. So as I said, we have this involved this in the definition of health. Same, if the person not able to meet the ordinary demands of life, mental conditions associated with the substance, alcohol and drugs, these are also included in the definition of mental illness, but it excludes the definition, the mental illness definition excludes mental retardation from the definition, which is the like a developmental disorder which we see in the as the child develops. Now, mental retardation is the old terminology as per the DSM-5 and ICD-11. The latest terminology for mental retardation is the intellectual disability, because it is like some people say it is a stigmatizing word, so we should not use the mental retardation word. So this is the definition of mental illness. So someone who have all these things or any of these criteria can be said that someone person have the mental illness. Now here, this is not the perfect definition. If we see from, this is the legal definition as per the law. But if we see from the psychiatry or the clinical point of view, see, for us, any kind of disorder of all these five is a mental illness. Legally, it is a substantial disorder that is required by law to decide or to define mental illness. So this is the legal difference between the legal definition and the medical or clinical practice. If for us, any kind of disorder, it may or may not be substantial. Someone having mild disorder or someone having even less than the mild, it is still a disorder for us. But for legal purposes or for legal work, because we have to have something definition of mental illness. So for law or legal purposes, it is substantial disorder of all these things that is important to define or to decide whether that fits into the mental illness criteria or not. Now, the mental illnesses, there are a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions about psychiatry, as we have discussed. Psychiatry has been always a stigmatized branch. Nobody comes to psychiatrist. Obviously, the trend is changing nowadays. But if you see the general behavior perception in the society, कि पागलों का doctor, like that's what we most of the time we have to listen कि आप पागल का doctor हो. Yes, we do agree that, but we don't treat only pagals, and pagal ka definition is different from a clinical perspective. So, what are the different mental illnesses which are there as per ICD, International Classification of Diseases? So, most common, which is legally important, is the schizophrenia and mania, which are the what we say the psychotic disorders, wherein the person has lost touch with the reality, or he is having his own world. Whether the person may have delusions, hallucinations, or someone may become very aggressive, abusive, and a lot of issues. And these are the two disorders mainly. Obviously, all the disorders do matter, but these two disorders are the one where, from legal perspective, Section 84 of IPC is applicable. Responsibility, criminal responsibility. This is very much important in these two disorders, schizophrenia and mania. So this is what in common world or in the general public we say ki who are not living in the real world, or maybe we can say pagal. I don't doubt whether that word is really applicable, stigmatizing. But yes, apart from this schizophrenia mania, very common disorders nowadays we encounter. In fact, it's very this thing in our field we say everyone of so-called normal people have gone through some mental illness, any of these at some point of their time in the life. So most commonly nowadays we see depression. Almost everyone. If you say, I will give the data in the next slide, what is the prevalence of all these disorders. But depression, if you see, depression is very common nowadays with the fast life, the changing social situations, poor social support, unitary living system, currently the COVID and the side effects of COVID, financial and economical, plus vocational, occupational hazards of the COVID side effects. So almost everyone have gone through or heard or has experienced to some extent correlation to depression, which comes in mental illness, anxiety disorders. Since we have so many students right now in the webinar, people or students become very anxious to ask the questions in the class, to answer the questions, or to appear for exam, or either theory or practical. So all anxiety disorder where the person become anxious while performing his duty which he or she is supposed to do. So that is anxiety disorder. Substance use disorder, very common. Substance use disorder means, like for your understanding, all the drugs like alcohol, cannabis, opioids, cocaine, inhalants, all these substance, what we call it as substance in our medical terminology, but for your understanding is like all the drugs which lead to addiction. These are the disorders. We see so many people, like everyone almost, like having the data, so many people are using alcohol, so many people are having disorders because of alcohol. Sleep disorders, it is very common nowadays. People have everything, but they are not getting the proper sleep at all. They don't sleep properly. They don't feel fresh while when they awake in the morning. So sleep disorders, sexual disorders, very rarely discussed in our community because of our social or any other reasons. But a sexual disorder, sexual problems is a fact, and unless and until we speak about those disorders, these issues, it won't be resolved. There are a lot of misconceptions about sexual disorders. Personal disorder, this is again important from the legal perspective, because there are a lot of types of personal disorders, out of which antisocial personality may be very much interesting or very much applicable to the legal side. So personal disorders, there are a lot of mental illnesses in the children and also in the elderly people. So if someone is having mental illness, the common what we say is ki pagal ho gaya hai. But it's not only the schizophrenia and mania that is the part of mental illnesses. There are so many disorders are there which are the part of mental illnesses and which we should address. People generally having the depression or substance use disorder or having sleep disorder or sexual disorders, they don't come generally to the psychiatrist with because of the stigma कि एक बार आप psychiatrist के पास जाओगे तो आपको वो लेबल हो जाएगा आप पागलों के डॉक्टर के पास जाकर आ गए हो. So I think it is a high time we should think scientifically. All of us is to living the 21st century. We should have scientific knowledge. Maybe 50, 60 years down the line, it was appropriate because there are not that much development, no scientific advancements in the field of mental health. Now, since it is a scientific branch, there is a proper research, lot of things have developed. So we should accept and adjust with the change in the science knowledge. Now, this is the, like, as I said, what is the mental illness burden in our society? So this is the National Mental Health Survey conducted by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in 1516. So as you see, the lifetime prevalence of mental illness, this is a mental illness in survey was 13.7%. Mind, it is very, very huge number. 13.7% of Indian population, as per this survey, has the lifetime prevalence of having mental illness. And there is a very huge number. And what we are doing to address this 13.7% of our all colleagues, very, very, very little. So as per this survey, nearly 150 million Indians are in need of active intervention. Active intervention means they need treatment. So out of India's population, this is the number of people which will require treatment for their illnesses. And this is the chart as per the National Mental Health Survey. You can go through the chart. You can see the prevalence of any mental illness. Now here, any mental illness is 10.6, but you see it is 13.7. But in many mental illnesses, they have excluded tobacco use disorders. Because to a certain extent, tobacco use is not considered as abnormal in our culture. But that if you include the tobacco use disorders, then the total number will go up to 13.7%. Schizophrenia 0.4, depression 2.7, anxiety disorders 3.5. Depression is it's a point prevalence. If we see the lifetime prevalence of depression, the number will be much, much higher than 2.7%. Almost everybody of us must have seen that someone of your colleague, someone in the family, someone of relative is having depression. So these figures are from 2015. It's like 6-7 years back, and the number is much higher than what is predicted here. But still, we have these numbers. What are the important findings of this survey? The prevalence of mental morbidity is high in urban population, urban metros and the rural population. Because in rural area, it is still there is a people how they help each other, the joint family system, that all social factors are there, people know each other. That, as I said, because mental illness is having lot of social factors involved in the determinant. So social support is supposed to be more in a rural area than the urban. So that's why the prevalence is high in the urban compared to rural. Then these all lead to increased health burden. Nearly 1% of population having suicidal risk, high suicidal risk. Again, this is very important for us. In fact, suicide is the most common cause of a preventable death if there is active and proper intervention done at the proper time. Other disorder, like if anybody is having severe like cancer, or anybody is having like major medical illness, or someone having accident, or any major illness, then that is not preventable death. But as per WHO, suicide is the most common, mind it is the most common preventable cause of death. So, and mental illnesses affect the mostly the productive age groups, and which affects the society at large. So, and this is important finding for us, like treatment gap. What was found, sorry, was more than 60%. And for alcoholic disorders, it was 84%. So, this is very important from the treatment point of view. Second, families has to spend in thousands every month for the treatment, for travel, other charges not included. Generally, psychiatric disorders are long lasting compared to other disorders. Like if you have malaria, you take the anti-malarial chloroquine or other anti-malarial drug, maybe within 6 or 7 days you have to stop the treatment, you are out of the malaria. That doesn't apply to the mental illnesses. Mental illnesses require long-term treatment, and that's why this number every month, it keeps on adding every month, which leads to a lot of financial burden to the family members. And again, as because of the lack of manpower and like a lot of facilities, nearly 80% of persons who are suffering from mental disorders have not received any treatment, even though the symptoms are started more than 12 months. Again, very alarming situation. For 12 months, that person has mental illness. Symptoms are there, obvious symptoms are there, but still 80% of them have not received treatment. And this is all documented in the National Mental Health Survey conducted by the central government. Now, about the substance use or like the addiction use, this is the survey done by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, and they have published a document called Magnitude of Substance Use in India. So this is the prevalence. Alcohol, 14.6% of population of India, like 20 crore, more than 20 crore. They require treatment. They are having mental substance use disorders. Cannabis, like this thing, charas, ganja, bhang, opioids, heroin, brown sugar, sedatives, sleeping pills, cocaine, inhalants. This is the prevalence. If you see, it's in the crores. And what are we doing to address those people? Nothing compared to the magnitude of the problem. Suicide is, this is NCRB data recently published in 2020. The total number of suicides in 2020 were 1,53,052. Suicide rate of India is 11.3%, very high. 11.3% is a very high suicide rate. This is only about the number who have complete suicides or who have completed suicide. Unfortunately, there is a death of that person who attempted the suicide. But statistically, for every suicide, the completed suicide, there are almost 6 to 8 attempted suicides. Means those who attempt to end their life, but the end result is not death. So if you see the number, like 1.5 lakh people complete suicide, if you add to those 6 to 8 times, those are attempted suicide. So this is a very huge number, which psychiatrists or the people all should address. Now, why only psychiatrists? And what is the status of the manpower to deal with all these disorders? This is as per this standard is as per the WHO Mental Health Atlas 27. This is the WHO says there should be 1.3 psychiatrists per 1 lakh population, 0.9 psychologists per 1 lakh population, 0.3 psychiatric social workers, 3.5 psychiatric nurses per 1 lakh population. So this is what the required number as per WHO in India, in our country. And this is the available manpower. This is the deficit. If you see how many percentage is the gap, 96% gap, 96, 92, 78, 80%. So this is a huge gap. If you see in the previous slides, you have seen the burden of mental illnesses, how huge we have to deal with the mental illnesses in our country. And what is the manpower? Professional trained manpower. Very less, if you can see. And what are we all like? Why only government, but all of us are doing to address this deficit? Unless and until this deficit is addressed, how are we going to treat with all the disorders? Unlikely. Budgetary provisions, as I said, like the mental illness or mental health is always neglected at every stakeholder level. So, like total budget of India, it is recently, like in the last month, only our Union Finance Minister has presented this budget in our Parliament. So, the total budget of India is 39,44,909 crore. Out of which total health budget, out of all this is the 86,200 crores. That means 2% of the total budget is allocated to the health budget. Again, if you see in the developed countries, because health is very basic need, almost in other countries 4 to 5% minimum is the health budget allocation out of the all budget. But we are still at the yes. One positive thing is it is much higher than what it is to be in the few years back. So obviously the health budget, total health budget is increasing. Out of this 86,200 crore, the budget allocated by the Minister of Health and Family Welfare for mental health is merely 670 crore. So that is, it comes only 0.7% of total health budget. We are not speaking of total budget of India. Total health budget out of 86,200, only 0.7% budget is allocated to mental health. Quite worrisome for all of us. If we understand the burden, the prevalence of mental illnesses, the shortage of manpower, then what the authorities are doing to address those issues. Hardly 670 crore, nothing. In Indian population, where we are seeing almost 13.7 is the prevalence of mental disorders in India, only 670 crore how are we going to address? In developed population, or as per WHO's guideline, minimum 5% of health budget of this 5% of health budget should be given to mental health. Then and then only all those treatment gap, manpower shortage, shortage in the services will be addressed. But this is the reality, real facts about the mental health, how it is been marginalized or discriminated at every level, from society till the highest level. So this is the what about the mental health and this thing. Now this is important for legal perspective, forensic psychiatry. Currently, we don't have something called a forensic psychiatry course as such in India, but this is what it should be there. It is a surface psychiatry which deals with the scientific and clinical expertise of the psychiatry are applied to legal issues in legal context. This is important. Legal contexts, because the legal contexts are different than the clinical context. In our context, someone may be having psychiatric illness, but that may not be mentally or legally applicable to these things. So legal context, embracing civil, criminal, correctional and legislative matters. So as I said, there is no specialized training program at present in India to deal with how this forensic
Hello, sir.
This meeting is being recorded.
I would like to add what is the contribution of judiciary in mental health or mental illnesses. So as I have mentioned, all the mental health policies and programs, we have National Mental Health Program initiated by the central government in 1982. We have National Mental Health Policy published in 2014. We have National Mental Health Care Act 2017 applicable from 2018. But still, all these policy and programs have always been reactive rather than proactive. Unfortunately, it should be more proactive rather than reactive. But that is the reality. And the judiciary is the one who has played very important role in the mental health services and the policy and programming. So these are the two examples which obviously I'm sure you must be aware of. Upendra Bakshi versus Union of India and Gaurav Kumar Bansal versus Union of India. These cases still going on. But still, in fact, this is very important. It's still going on. All the states and the central has given undertaking to the Supreme Court. You will do such and such things. More than 3 years. It's everything on the paper. Nothing has been the reality. This is the hard reality. But I must congratulate. I must thank the judiciary because of the judiciary, lot of reforms have happened. Or judiciary have made it compulsory. The policymakers and the government to make the changes. In fact, when the first reform was like this thing in the Agra Mental Hospital, where there are a lot of complaints about the condition of mentally ill people being kept in Agra Mental Hospital. When the Supreme Court has appointed National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) members to visit and that thing, and after that, when the NHRC has submitted the report, then the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of that report and given the advisory. Yes, these provisions should be there, which will be as like treating the human beings. So the picture in mental hospital was very different, but thanks to judiciary, because of their contribution, lot of positive changes, positive things have happened in the mental health. So this is what is contribution. Now I will for 2 or maybe for 5 minutes about this interface of law and clinical practice, specifically when it comes to the psychiatry. Like in the psychiatry, it is more of the subjective. We lack objectivity in psychiatry. We lack the diagnostic test in psychiatry. Like if you are taking any like diabetes, so there is a lab test. If you do the blood sugar level more than 100, more than 110, this, that means you are having diabetes. Blood pressure, you can record the blood pressure through the sphygmomanometer. 128 is normal, but more than 140, 100 is you label that person as having hypertension. It is not applicable in psychiatry. Where there is very lack of objective tests in psychiatry. It's very much of subjective phenomena, how the psychiatrists look at that person, how the history given by the patient, history given by the relatives, the local context in which the person lives, the geographical location, the culture, as we have mentioned in the definition of mental health. All these factors are important. But whenever we go to attend to someone in the court of law, they ask yes or no, answer this question yes or no. No, it is not applicable. Very, very rare to answer yes or no in mental health and psychiatry. It's all gray area. It's not total black and white. There are a lot of gray area in the mental health. So there are lack of like if I have to diagnose a depression. So diagnosis of depression is depending on the clinical criteria as given by the ICD International Classification of Diseases. But is there a diagnostic test? No. How can we diagnose this thing? So these are the clinical. Whenever it is a clinical diagnosis, it is a subjectivity. So this thing has to be kept in mind by the legal authorities whenever clinical cases related to psychiatry come to them. Like if you apply the IQ test applied at one place, suppose the IQ comes as 90. If that person goes to another psychologist and the IQ test is being applied, very rarely or very minimal chances that the same result will be there. Because while applying IQ test, apart from that test, how the test is being conducted, what is the comfort of that child when the test is being conducted? Does the child has understood all the instructions given by this thing in the language in which the child understands? Was he hungry at that time? Was there anything just happened before the test being conducted? There is some fight at the home and that has disturbed his mental health. So lot of all these factors affect the result of the psychological tests in psychiatry. So as I said, a lot of subjectivity is there in the mental health field rather than objectivity. And second, this is the what most of the time the respective judges ask us, they call us about the insanity depends or insanity. So to be very frank, insanity is not a medical terminology. It is a legal terminology. In our textbook or in our WHO ICD, nobody is mentioned about insane or insanity. These are legal terminology. So like legal definition of insanity, like what we call legal insanity is different than the medical insanity. For us, anyone having psychiatric disorder is having disorder, is a mentally ill. But for legal purpose, as I said, substantial disorder should be there. So there is a difference between the legal insanity and medical insanity, which should be understood by both, like from the legal side also and from the clinical side also. So these are the two important things which I think medical, the legal students or the people should be aware when you are dealing with any case related to the mental health. Now this is about what can be done, what should be done, what क्या करना चाहिए, होना चाहिए. So many things are there. I think, as I said, the mental health, as we were advancing, we have seen the COVID, the effect of COVID on the mental health, about the society, the way people were behaving, the way people are targeting. Everybody is mental disturbed. So I think the way forward, of despite of all these hurdles, like whatever at the highest level to the lowest level, wherever there is hurdle, stigmatization, discrimination, everything is there. But I think the way forward for to deal with the mental health issues is that all sections of society should work together. And the contribution of each section is very much important for the development of the mental health. And there should be exchange of knowledge and coordination. In fact, this is the one of the reason why we like I am being a doctor or being a psychiatrist on your platform. Can there is exchange of knowledge from the legal, from the medical side, from the legal side, from the social side, from the cultural side, and there is a coordination between the different these things. We won't be able to help the people who really need our help. So I think it is the best thing we should work together, all sections of the society, so that people having the mental illness or the mental health of the society at large is being protected. Like to give an example, Mental Health Care Act 2017 was passed in 2017 by the Parliament with the assent of the Honorable President, and it was enacted and implemented in 2018. From 2018 till 2022, like 4 years have been passed in between. No much have been done about the implementation of the Mental Health Act. There are a lot of provisions about the establishing mental health authority, changing the system. In fact, let me tell you, we are not discussing about the Mental Health Care Act right now, but it is very much progressive, patient-centric, addressing to the rights of the patients. But what is the use of having all those provisions only on the paper if these are not being implemented practically at the ground level? And maybe like Gaurav Kumar Bansal versus Union of India, that is the case which we are hoping which will make all the states and the central government for the strict implementation of the Mental Health Care Act 2017, which should be there. But 4 years down the line, nothing has happened. Still, it is only on the paper. The act is only on the paper, and the people having mental illness are still suffering. So, as I said, we all should work together so that the mental health of the societies increase, or it is good. So I will end there. Thank you, everyone. So as I mentioned, I have given the brief interview, which I think from the legal perspective, you should be aware of. So I will take the questions if there are any questions from your side.
Yes, sir, definitely. Any questions from student side?
Yes, sir. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Yes, you can quickly go through your questions, Aman.
Yes.
Yes. So, as you showed in the slide you presented about the various kinds of the substances like alcohol, cannabis, and the opioids and the CNS stimulants. So all these were mentioned in the list, but the maybe it's a taboo in this where I'm speaking, in the platform I'm speaking, or whatever in the country I'm speaking, it does not matter. But the use of psychedelics in the treatment of various mental disorders such as depression, anxiety, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorders, and these researches have been like since I think the 70s. The research has been stopped, and what I personally feel is that ये research का just a second. The reason that these researches and so much more could we in these 30 years what we could have क्या knowledge अपने को मिला होता, that is a thing of concern actually, because we are very backward in this case, like states like California and in Canada.
Yes.
And many such things have been addressed and are working, and I am personally feel that things work, world works. So what
Yes,
is your take?
Aman, can you summarize your question?
Yes, so what is your take on what is the reason and what is your take on psychedelics not being mentioned in the slide? Is it that what is the number? 65 participants. Is it because that the 65 participants cannot comprehend what are you trying to say? Or obviously because you being such a knowledgeable person, I can understand that you can relate with everything that I'm saying. Most of them might not be, few of them would be. So I would just like to know your take on that. And you're a really interesting and knowledgeable person. Really appreciate you giving your time to us. I don't usually attend open the group. So please.
Yes, Aman. Sir, over to you.
Yes, it's very interesting question, a very interesting fact which Aman has put forward. See, the survey was done by the Social Justice and Empowerment Department in 2019, so it published in 19, so one year earlier. About the psychedelics, yes, it is always been there since ages. The research are there. We see so many stories about how the drug has affected the psychology of the way the person behaves. So psychedelics is included in that thing. But yes, again, as I say, as per the NDPS Act and other acts, the very few people have responded to those questions. The fact is that, as you said, like if suppose imagine I am taking LSD, so I can't just say with the legal office I am taking LSD. So maybe that is the reason that why this has came down. And another issue is that for the government of India, the psychedelics and other drugs are available mostly in the metros, and that to the very few people who can afford those drugs. Someone who can afford tobacco or alcohol is very cheap, but affording LSD or some drugs which cost like thousands or more than that. So maybe that may be the one of the reason why it not include it. But I think the first reason is the this thing which will address to your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question by Luna Lisa.
Yes, sir. Sir, I just wanted to know, this is from the legal point of view. Maybe if you are comfortable, or maybe you can throw some light on that. See, you have very well explained the trauma, the conditions in which having people having some mental problems they faced, and the trauma and the stigma that comes thereafter. But sir, what I wanted to particularly know is, say we have a judicial statute. I am a first semester student in IPC, so I don't know the exact section in the IPC, but I still have an idea that in the IPC there is a section which punishes a person who has attempted to suicide but failed. Okay, sir. So what my take is, a person who has a mental disturbance and has tried to commit a suicide is again traumatized by legally penalizing under the law. So, and then we have the Mental Health Care Act, which about which you mentioned, 2017. So how much of a change has this act brought on this particular statute on the IPC? Could you throw some light on this, sir?
Thank you for the question. It's a very relevant question.
Yes.
See, like section 309 of IPC, which deals with the suicide attempt, it is a crime as per our Indian constitution. But our MHC, Mental Health Care Act 2017, has decriminalized suicide. The background given is that the person is attempting suicide is because the person is having some stress, severe stress, which that person is not able to cope up. So someone who is having some severe stress, you can't punish that person. Like it is a punishable offense, like Section 309, attempting suicide. So MHCA Mental Health Care Act 2017 has decriminalized the suicide attempt. But as I said, it is not yet implemented at the ground level in the state of Maharashtra.
Okay, sir.
Central government in 2018 has given the notification, but in Maharashtra, still Mental Health Act 1987 is applicable. So, as I said, 4 years have been done down the line, but still, it is only on the paper. In the reality, again, it is a crime to attempt the suicide. But yes, a person who is attempting suicide should not be penalized. He needs support. He needs some treatment, which should be given. There is a provision in the MSCA 2017 for that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful session. It was really very informative session. You have given so much statistics, and not only given the statistics, you have also included the analysis of those statistics and also the social stigma. We often don't talk about such mental health. You also talk about these things. It was really informative and enlighten our students with the various perspectives. So thank you so much for that. So with your permission, we'll conclude this session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for having with us. So now we'll be proceeding to the next resource person.
Hello.
So yes, sir.
Can you see
I
me?
would like to invite. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to invite Neelam Dighe, Assistant Professor from Modern Law College, to introduce our next resource person, which is right here with us. Yes, Neelam ma'am, over to you. Neelam ma'am, can you hear me? So before starting the session, we'll be having your introductory session by Assistant Professor Neelam Dighe. Yes, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Bhumika ma'am. Sir, it is a pleasure to have you here today.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Short introduction of Professor Avinash Kole. Professor Avinash Kole.
Yes,
Am I
your voice
audible
is
now,
breaking. Yes, you are audible. You can start.
Okay. Professor Avinash Kole was born in 1957, retired as Associate Professor in Political Science from Burnout College, Mumbai. He is visiting as
Neelam ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, but your voice is not clear. There are many interruptions in your voice. Neelam ma'am, your voice is not clear. Your voice is not clear, ma'am. There are interruptions in between.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible now. So we can again start with the introduction.
Just a second. Professor Avinash Kole retired as an associate professor in political science from Burnout College, Mumbai. Before joining academics, he had held many responsible positions in various Mumbai-based top-notch advertising agencies like Goodnight Mosquito Repellent, OK Bath Soap, LIC, etc. Professor Avinash Kole has visited US and the Salzburg Seminar, Austria for academic assignments and presented research paper in an international conference held in Tehran, Iran. For over 2 decades, he has been running a bilingual weekly column on national and international politics in English and Marathi. He has translated the biography of Dr. Manmohan Singh from English to Marathi. Similarly, he has translated 2 books for the National Book Trust, Delhi. One is Partition of India and the other is the Gadar Movement. For about a decade, he ran a weekly column devoted to book reviews. At present, he is pursuing his PhD from University of Mumbai on separatist tendencies among the Muslims of Xinjiang province of China. As a creative writer, he has published a collection of long stories in 2017, and in 2018, his novel was published. He has been awarded the Best Short Story Collection Award by the Maharashtra State Literary Board. His novel, Saukat Patoli, published in 2018, has won the prestigious the Baba Padmanji Award for the Best Novel of the Year. The award is instituted by the Yashwantrao Date Memorial Institute, Wardha, Maharashtra. In 2019, he has won the prestigious novel writing competition organized by the Majestic Publishing House, Mumbai. His novel, Panktitle Pan, was adjudged as the best novel, which was eventually published by the Majestic Publishing House in 2020. Now, the novel has run into its second edition. His other interest is non-Marathi theatre in Mumbai. He has been regularly reviewing non-Marathi plays in Marathi for the benefit of Marathi audiences. Till today, he has reviewed over 300 odd non-Marathi plays. A collection of such reviews was published in August 2016 by Lok Vangamya Publishing House, Mumbai, titled Rang Devtanse Angla Roop, which could be roughly translated as the Western face of the theatres in Mumbai. He has been quite active on lecture circuit in Maharashtra. He makes PPT presentations to law students and undergraduate college students on topics like the making of Indian Constitution, a historical perspective, the unique features of Indian Constitution, the story of First Amendment to our Constitution, and many other legal issues. I welcome Dr. Avinash Koley to enlighten us participants for today's webinar on the topic constitutional, human rights, and international aspects of mental health. Welcome, sir.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Who will, Keskar madam?
Yes,
sir. Yes, I'm
somebody will be. I can't see anybody. I don't know why. What's wrong?
Sir, you can click on the participants.
The camera has been turned off for me.
I had clicked on participants. I see only name Pasekar, Reva. I can't see myself anywhere. Anyway.
But sir, we can see you. Your video is on. We can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So today I'm going to take you through evolution of human rights. And if time permits, I will also tell you the international relations and the issue of human rights in today's international relations, international politics, whatever you prefer to call it. Okay. The presentation starts. Keskar ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at this idea. Though today we call human right a unique idea, it means a bunch of rights to be enjoyed by all human beings. As a student of law, you are aware of the fact that rights are normally available to citizens of that country only. As a citizen of India, I am entitled to some rights. If a foreigner is in India, he may not be entitled to all the rights that I enjoy as a citizen of India. Similarly, if I travel to America, I may not be enjoying the same set of rights that American citizen enjoys because I am not American citizen. So this was the idea about rights till we have seen the arrival of idea called human rights. They are enjoyed by all human beings, underline all, I repeat, all human beings, irrespective of nationality, religion, language, ethnicity, gender, etc. No discrimination. Just you are a human being. That's enough that you can attract a bunch of human rights. That's the basic idea that you must keep in mind. As we progress this presentation, you will understand the implications of why I have put this as a slide number 1 to get this idea clear into your mind and head. Next. As I told you, though it is the idea is discussing now, in a way, it's a very ancient idea which can trace back to 539 before Christ, BC. Matlab, the year 2022 plus 500, 2007 year 100-year-old idea is what we're talking about now. There is a Cyrus the Great in history who had conquered Babylon, and those days in the Western countries there was a practice of slavery prevalent. Greek philosophy, Greece, Roman Empire, all had slaves. This Cyrus the Great then conquered Babylon and decided to let all slaves become free. And what is so unique then was what we practice today is right to religion. You may have any denomination, you may be anybody. That does not mean that has nothing to do with the business of the state. You shall have no discrimination from state just because you do not belong to the religion of the majority. That is an idea that was in fashion in 539 BC by Cyrus the Great. Next. Understand this idea. Human rights are those rights which we have simply because we exist as a human being. They are not granted by any state. As I told you, rights are granted by state, Indian state, Pakistani state, Russian state, Canadian state. They are given by the state to the citizen. On the other hand, completely opposite to the idea of state sanctioned rights, I am putting across new idea called human rights, which are not to be sanctioned by any state at all. They are just with me because I am a human being. They are universal rights and inherent to us all, regardless of same thing, nationality, sex, gender, ethnicity, color of your skin, language, or any other status. Rich, poor, middle class, it has nothing to do with your status as a human being. Next. Now, there are two definitions I have uploaded here for your comprehension. Justice Dr. Durga Das Basu. His definition says, human rights are those minimal rights which every individual must have against the state or any other public authority by virtue of his being a member of human family, irrespective of any consideration. We are talking about human family. All those people who stay on this earth are humans and they are entitled to human rights. Whether you are an African, whether you are a Nairobi person, whether you are a Canadian person, whether you are from Tanzania, whether you are from Pakistan, it has nothing to do with the. So you are a human being. That is enough that it will give you a bunch of human rights. Next definition. United Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, was adopted on 10th December 1948. It defines human rights as rights derived from inherent dignity of human person. When these human rights are guaranteed by written constitution, they automatically become fundamental rights, as is the case in India, America, which have written constitutions. So UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in Marathi, मानवी हक्कांचा आंतरराष्ट्रीय जाहीरनामा. Human rights are rights derived from inherent dignity of human person. Inherent, I mean, it are implicit in my existence as a human being. Next. Now, in India, as late as 2011, Supreme Court, in a famous case, Ramdev Chauhan versus Beni Kant Das, commented that the term human right is so broad concept and cannot be straitjacketed in narrow confines. Any attempt to do so would truncate its all-embracing scope and reach and denude it of its vigor and vitality. Now, this is important because if you define human rights in a very crystal clear language, you will be confining an inherently beautiful idea, which is all-embracing, which can go on expanding its scope and go on making your and my life better. That is the idea in not giving a crisp, proper, precise definition of human rights as was observed by Supreme Court 11 years ago. Next. Now, as we progress our discussion on human rights, let's look at some important documents in our history. First important document is known as Cyrus Cylinder. I refer to Cyrus the Great. Those days, this document was put on baked clay cylinder. मिट्टी का बर्तन होता है ना, उस पे the orders are ingrained. That's why they are known as Cyrus cylinder. Today, many of those orders available on big clay cylinder have become part of the UDHR. In fact, the first 4 articles are straight derived from Cyrus cylinder. So first important document in human history is 5th century BC, Cyrus the Great, who engraved these orders or the indicts on big clay cylinders. Hence they are known as Cyrus cylinders. Next. Magna Carta, 1215 AD in UK. This introduced the idea of rule of law, also defined bunch of rights and liberties of people. And because before that, the justice, the rule was coming from monarch. How many of you have heard of divine rights theory? I'm asking a question. How many of you heard of divine rights theory? Anybody? Hello. Upload this question in chat box. What is divine right theory? Anybody wants to volunteer?
Yes, any of the participants want to answer this question?
I'll give you 1 minute, otherwise I'll proceed. We are running short of time.
Sir, I remember reading about this theory, but unfortunately, I do not remember right
It's
now.
all right. It's all right. Anybody who has read and remembers? I can see Mayuri Shah, Pranay Surve, Neha Sapkar. Hello. Though this is online.
Yes, sir.
What is divine rights theory? Nobody wants to take a...
Sir, we've never heard of it. I've never heard of it, or I've never read. But from the term divine right, is it something to do with the divine powers like gods and goddesses or something like that?
Yeah, it says that as gods rule heaven, their representative on earth is king, monarch. As you obey God without questioning him, so you should also obey king who is representative of God on earth. So स्वर्ग में भगवान है, जमीन पे राजा है, और दोनों का you have to obey them blindly. That is called divine right theory, which also means if the monarch has given you some justice, you are not going to appeal against that as we do today. District court, high court, supreme court, then bench, 3-member bench, 5-member bench, 7-member bench, and finally to the president. So that kind of a levels of appeal is not accepted idea during monarchy. That's the, and hence the importance of Magna Carta, who introduced the idea of rule of law and the human society at global level moved away from monarchy towards democracy. So Magna Carta is regarded as the birthplace of democracy. Okay? Okay, next. Third important document, English Bills of Rights, Section 89, 1215, 1315, 1415, 1615, almost 450 years later, we have a Bill of Rights from UK, that is known as English Bill of Rights. This was just before that, there was civil war in England, which lasted for about 5-6 years between monarchy people and republicans. The supporters of king and queen and supporters of republican form of government that was led by Oliver Cromwell. The civil war lasted for about 7 to 8 years, and then the balance was restored between parliamentary power and king's power. After this, Parliament has got an upper hand. See, initially king was more powerful, Parliament was less powerful. From 1215 to 1689, the shift took place almost 50-50. After this, supremacy of Parliament was established, and Parliament had, say, 70% power, king was with 30% power. I'm not just giving an idea to put across the concept of supremacy of parliament over king. Now parliament will decide what is right and wrong. King will not decide what is right or wrong for the society. Next. Then we move towards modern era. French declaration after French Revolution 1789, and the opening line was, men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Men are born and remain free and equal in rights, which means you are born free, you are born equal, and you have equal rights. That was the clarion call given by French declaration after French Revolution, which means end of monarchy. The moment you say Raja hai, which means he has got more power, more rights than ordinary people. French declaration sealed this idea permanently, saying that men are born free and equal in rights. Later came American Bill of Rights. The opening line, I will strongly recommend just memorize these lines because they are turning point in human history. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, and what are they? That among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. This is how American Bill of Rights begins. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are three foundations of American democracy, American Constitution. Everything American is based on these three ideas: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. आनंदी राहण्याचा हक्क, जगण्याचा हक्क, स्वातंत्र्याचा हक्क, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Hence, these two documents are very important in modern world. Next. Now we are stepping into 20th century. In 20th century, had witnessed two world wars, 1914 to 1918, First War, 1939 to 1945, Second War. Now, Second War, after that, there is no Third World War. Though they are talking about that in Ukraine, but I am sure that there will be no Third World War. Why? Because at the end of World War II, Hiroshima and Nagasaki had witnessed the display and destruction of atomic power at a macro level, and then humanity realized that if you have Third World War, nobody will survive to report who won and who lost. The entire planet Earth will be destroyed. Hence, to stop wars in future, as World War II ended in May 45, within a few months, on 24th October 1945, UNO was established, which is functional even now. That UNO also debated the idea of human rights that we are discussing now, and on 10th December 1948, Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by United Nations General Assembly. Since then, every year, 10th December is celebrated all over the world as International Human Rights Day. Next. Now let's quickly look at important human rights. There are 10 that I listed. Right to life, right to freedom, not just freedom, right to freedom from torture. You can't torture me as one human being cannot, should not, would not torture another human being. Right to equal treatment. As I said, we are all born equal. So with the question of you enjoying special power, special treatment, no question. We all are equal treatment. Right to privacy. Modern world is full of society around you. You and I stay in a metropolitan city called Bombay with a population of 130 million, which is a huge city. It's a huge country that you and I stay. So privacy is very important. The right to asylum, because in modern world, we see a lot of people being persecuted. A lot of groups are being persecuted because of their opinion. It could be religious opinion, it could be political opinion, it could be opinion about literature. I mean, different opinion. Not many societies tolerate contrary opinion, and they make life miserable people who hold that opinion. In such cases, people holding contrary opinion should have a right to leave that country and migrate to other country. That's called right to asylum. Next. Right to marry. Right to freedom of thought, opinion, expression that you must have learnt in law by now. Right to work. Kamata adhikar. Right to education. Shikshanata adhikar. And right to social services. All these services around me. Water, road, transportation, public transport, entertainment, hygiene, gardens. They are all social services. And I am entitled to all of them as a human being. Next. Now, having understood what are they, where are they coming from, where have they come from, well, looked at those historical documents. Now, I want to take you through the process through which human rights are developed over a period of time. First, there are 2-3 generations of rights. We are looking at first generation of human rights. They are talk about civil and political rights, and it covers right to life, equality before law, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, property rights, right to fair trial and voting rights, etc. If you look at them, many are about political aspect of human existence, right to freedom of speech, property right to fair trial, voting right. They all come from political aspects of human existence. Then you have right to life, right to religion are coming from civil aspect of human existence. Next. They emerged during 17th, 18th century in Europe and then migrated to other parts of the world. They are mostly in political nature, as I explained you. The idea then was that people at large should have some influence or issues that affect them. If you are going to increase sales tax, as a citizen of the country, I should be consulted, because from tomorrow, once you raise the sales tax, I have to pay more for the same product that I was buying before the increase in sales tax. 10 रुपए की चीज अभी 12 रुपए मिलेगी, वही चीज वही है, खाने वाला मैं भी वही, लेकिन जिसके लिए मुझे कल 10 रुपए देना पड़ता था, आज मुझे 12 रुपए देना पड़ता है, तो 2 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा दिया जा रहा है, because you have raised the sales tax. So in such cases, you should consult me, discuss it with me. That is what is last point tells you about. People should have influence over issues that affect them. Today, this is heavily into development projects like Samruddhi Marga, where is dams, where they have new idea called Jan Sunwai. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of Jan Sunwai? Yes. Have you heard of? Have you heard of? Yes. Shivraj Kolle, Mihir Sherika, Reva Deshpande.
Sir, may I?
Identify yourself, because I can't see you. Who is this? Who is speaking? Who is on the line?
Shankar Vorode, sir.
Bola.
Sir, Generation Y means they were hearing the public opinion, general public opinion, and demand of general public hearing and act upon them.
Correct. So that government should know how this development project is affecting people and what their opinion. Do they want it? If yes, no, why? I mean, it has to be interactive process through which government can come to a decision on a development project. This is a novel idea, got into discussion in last 15-20 years, thanks to a social worker called Aruna Roy, a former IAS officer, and who's a very influential person, who was, I think, who was part of the planning commission team. Next. Now, this was the time when Cold War after World War II began between America and Russia. Now, this was not normal war between two countries. There was a war of ideology, capitalism versus communism. Capitalism was led by America. Communism was led by USSR. Now, in American bloc, this capitalistic bloc, we have multi-party democracy. Press was as free as it is today. On the other hand, in communist bloc, there is USSR and communist country. There was one party rule, communist party. There were not multiple media, and media was not allowed to criticize government. So, capitalistic countries said that this Russian communist, Russian model has no respect for civil and political rights. This was true, but it was countered by Soviets responding that in granting civil and political rights to their citizens, they do not worry about the economic welfare of the people. People in America, England, Canada, France do not have economic rights and they do not enjoy social equality. Between these two ideological war, there was some truth in both the allegations leveled by one camp against the other camp. Which also proved, last point, which also proved that human right as an idea is very controversial and generates debate, generates political abuse also. Next. Now we shift our focus to second generation rights. Yeah. Yes, madam. Here we talk about more on cultural and economic rights. And the idea of these rights is based on the fundamental idea of equality. We are all equal. Guaranteed access to essential social economic goods, services, and opportunities. I must get tea to drink. I must get coffee to drink. I must get milk. I must get public transport. I must get employment opportunities from government. I must get opportunity to be a sports person. And there has to be a guarantee for the government that I will have a access to these goods and services. Next. Now we talked about economic aspects. Now here we talk about economic and cultural aspect. Social rights. Social rights are those which are necessary for full participation in the life of society. They include right to education, right to found and maintain family, and also include right to recreation, health, privacy, freedom from discrimination. Now, as a student of law, will you try to explain me back what is right to recreation? Is anybody? Right to recreation. What is the origin of this right?
Sir, may I?
Yes, yes. Identify yourself.
Sir, Shankar Varude.
Bola.
Word to word meaning is recreation means entertainment or entertain ourselves or making entertainment to others. Recreation.
Correct.
But in context of the law, recreation means to invent something new, to create something new, which is beneficiary for the society, myself, as well as to common people.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else wants to try? Anybody else wants to offer his opinion? Rutuja, Mukta Bhalerao, Srinivas Shinde, All right. Modern psychology has proved that man is not machine. I can work like a horse from Monday to Saturday, but on Sunday, my body and my mind needs rest and recreation. I want plays, I want sports, I want cinemas, I want music concerts, I want cricket matches, I want musical concerts. All this is necessary for my mental and physical health. So that on Monday, I'm back with my high level of efficiency, which can last me till Saturday. Again on Sunday, I take break, enjoy myself mentally, physically, and get ready for my next Monday. That is right to recreation. कर्मणूक करण्याचा अधिकार, कर्मणूक उपलब्ध असण्याचा अधिकार. For which government must run Balgandharva Rangamandir. Government must hold inter-collegiate cricket matches. Government must allow cinemas to be made. Government must allow plays to be made. कारण माणसाला कर्मणूक ही अत्यावश्यक असते. Otherwise, man will be reduced to robot. Hence, it is the importance of right to recreation, which is have become a internationally recognized human right. Next. Here, the focus is on economic rights, right to work, right to adequate standard of living, right to housing, right to pension, their old age care. These economic rights reflect the fact that a certain minimal level of material security is necessary for human dignity. मानवी आयुष्याला काहीतरी अर्थपूर्णता यावी यासाठी काही कमीत कमी प्रमाणातील आर्थिक सुरक्षितता, economic security, material security is necessary. A beggar cannot imagine to lead a peaceful life in future because he doesn't know where he's going to second meal coming from. If he has lunch, he doesn't know whether he will have dinner or not. If he has dinner, he doesn't know whether he will have lunch or not. So unless you ensure some material security, the whole edifice of modern civilization does not make sense. Next. 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 Keskar madam. Third generation rights. We have learned first, second, now we are shifting our focus to third generation rights. Next. In November 77, just 55 years ago, Karel Gosak was a UNESCO legal advisor and distinguished human rights scholar who wrote an article in UNESCO Courier and introduced the idea of third generation of human rights. They are group and collective rights to development, right to peace, right to healthy environment, right to humanitarian assistance. They are the bunch of modern theory of rights, which looks at the new reality of environment destruction, disaster, where you need humanitarian assistance, help, etc. Next. Right to development is an inalienable human right. I want to develop across the board: economic development, social development, cultural development, political development. All embracing idea of development is part of the human rights agenda at the global level. It says every human person and all people are entitled to participate in, contribute to, and enjoy economic, social, cultural, political development. Next. Finally, let's look at what we have encapsulated into two slides. Let's see from 48 UDHR how the evolution of various aspects of human rights. Convention on Prevention of Punishment of Crime of Genocide. What is genocide? What is genocide? Anybody? Yes, Rutuja Misa. What is genocide? Hello, I see some 63 people in attendance.
Killing large number of peoples.
Yeah, but what is genocide? Large number of people being killed. The way Hitler killed Jews during World War II. Yeah, Rutuja Misal killing a large number of people because they belong to a particular language, particular religion, for no fault of theirs. It's called genocide. So good example of genocide is in modern world is Hitler killing 6 million Jews. Then we have Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, 1965, was till then in South Africa, there was apartheid racial rule where the whites were ruling over blacks in a as dangerous manner as it was centuries ago. Then in 66, UNO adopted International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights that we referred to. Then came same year Covenant on Economic and Social and Cultural Rights. Then later we have Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, because we are into the International Women's Decade, 75, 85, so 79. That is 4 years after announcing International Decade for Women Empowerment. UNO had passed a convention on elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. Next. Next. Convention against torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Convention of Rights of Child. Now we are into from women. We are moving towards one more vulnerable section of society at a global level, rights of children. Then 99, 10 years later, we have protection of rights of all migrant workers and members of their family. Now during pandemic, suddenly the idea of migrant workers, their rights, their voting rights, etc. became a huge issue. But United Nations had touched it almost 25 years ago, 1999. So almost quarter of century ago, this idea of migrant worker has been in discussion. And then International Convention on Protection of All Forms of Enforced Disappearance. Even that became a very dangerous issue. We have, in many cases, it doesn't happen often in India, but in many less developed countries, people disappearing is a regular business, especially in political arena. If you are opposing the ruling class, then someday you just disappear without leaving any trace behind, and there will not be any case registered. There will not be a murder. I mean, no record, just disappeared. Even that is another form of discrimination which was recognized by UNO in 2006. Same year, it also picked up another equally vulnerable group of human society at a macro level, that is Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. कोई गुंडा है, कोई बहरा है, with challenge of eyesight, some disability. Now they are another section of vulnerable people. So if you look at this from 48 to 2006, with every passing decade, more or less, United Nations is stepping out to protect that vulnerable section of society which was not protected before. Next. Thank you very much. I sort of tried to cover as much ground as possible. I am ready to take any questions.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Any question from student side?
I can see you now suddenly. But I can't see any there. You are Bhumika Rathod, right?
Yes, sir. I'm Assistant Professor Bhumika Rathod.
I can see your name here.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Miss.
Any question from student side? You can write it in the chat box also.
No question, no doubt.
Okay, sir. There's no doubt from the student side. So with your kind permission, we can conclude the session. We are very thankful to have with us for this session.
Okay.
And we are blessed that we got an opportunity to listen from you on human rights and international aspect of it.
Correct. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
Do I end the meeting from my side?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely you can end the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are sending the feedback form on various groups. So it is necessary for all the students to fill the feedback form after we end this session. Before that, I would like to invite Assistant Professor Sheetal Keskar ma'am to deliver the vote of thanks. Yes,
Sheetal ma'am, over to you. Thank you, Bhumika ma'am. I, Assistant Professor Sheetal Keskar, take this opportunity to deliver a vote of thanks for today's national webinar on socio-legal perspectives of mental health issues and challenges. First of all, I sincerely thank Dr. Gajanan Egbote sir, Chairman, Progressive Education Society, Pune, for giving this opportunity to organize this event and for his continuous support and guidance. Then I express my gratitude towards Advocate Dr. Chintamani Ghate sir, Coordinator PS, Modern Law College, Pune, and Dr. Sunita Adhav ma'am, Principal, PS Modern Law College, Pune, for their continuous support and guidance. Then I would like to thank Dr. Ajay Chandanwale sir, Director of Maharashtra Institute of Mental Health, Pune, for accepting our proposal for the collaboration for this particular event, that is national webinar. So thank you so much, sir. Then I express my gratitude towards Dr. Rohini Hunap ma'am, a principal and head of department, TMV's Lokmanya Tilak Law College, Pune, for enlightening us and our participants on the topic, that is developing positive mental health for teaching and learning experience. Thank you so much, ma'am. Then I would like to express my sincere thanks to Dr. Sora Bhubari sir. He is assistant professor at Shankarrao Chavan Law College, Pune, for giving his valuable insights on the topic mental health of prisoners. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Nitin Abhivan sir, who is associate professor and chief administrative officer at Maharashtra Institute of Mental Health, for enlightening our participants on the topic legal provisions and clinical practice, a psychiatrist perspective. Thank you, sir. Then I express my sincere thanks to Avinash Kulle sir, who is known to be novelist, a bilingual columnist of national and international affairs, and also researcher on minorities in China, for giving valuable information on the topic human rights and international approach. Thank you, sir. Then I would like to thank all the organizers of this event, all teaching as well as non-teaching staff. Last but not the least, all the participants for making this program and event a successful one. Thank you so much. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sheetal ma'am, for the wonderful vote of thanks. Now I'd like to announce that we have sent a feedback form link in a chat box, and also we'll be sending the same link to all the groups. So it is required for all of you to fill the feedback form for all the sessions. So I hope you get lots of insights, lots of information through this webinar. So we can stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.